Meeting to order at 7:03. So how's everybody doing? Happy March.
Good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Spring is in the air.
warmer weather's on its way.
Mr. Chair, before we go to the minutes, would
Yep.
you allow me to just have a brief announcement?
Of course.
So I read the obituaries in the Worcester Telegram, and I noticed that a long-standing community member, Marilyn Peg H.U., passed away this past week. And reading her obituary, it mentioned that she, in her early retirement, was secretary to the Board of Library Trustees. So I'd like to recognize her and offer up a moment of silence. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
I would just say I was on the board when she was doing that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she and her daughter gave to the capital campaign.
Mhm.
So her name's on the board. So
Oh, okay.
I didn't know about that. Thanks
Yeah.
for letting us know.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah, telegram.com.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the obituary section. So.
Anybody else have any kind of just general announcements before we get started on the agenda? Okay. So the first order of business is the minutes from the last meeting, February 26th. So I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved.
All right, motion made. Any
Second.
second and seconded? Any questions, comments on the February 26th?
I did, but maybe I see that I'm under C for ongoing business. Grafton celebrates the holidays because we had voted to fund the monies that were owed to the staff that the trustees did, and
Yep.
then at that point in last meeting, I thought I had suggested. I recalled saying, "Can we do the same for 2025?" And I think we voted on it. Do you recall that, Carrie?
No, I believe that it was. We'll discuss that at a later date.
Was it? Okay.
Yes.
That's
thought
what
we-
I remember. I
yeah.
watched the
Okay,
video.
I thought
Yeah.
we voted on it.
We
Okay.
voted on for
Okay.
this previous December, and that passed.
Okay.
And then you raised the idea of
Okay. Fine.
doing it moving forward. And,
Yeah, we
and-
definitely want to.
Maybe that's why you
And it-
have me on the agenda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why we left you on, right? Because we
Okay.
saw that on there and thought, like, well, that's done. We don't need that anymore, and that came up. But
Okay.
then we realized, oh, actually, there, you had intended for some further discussion, and so that's why it's on there again.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Thank you.
And I
My
believe that
memory
was
is
all
off.
finalized with the funding source as well. Right,
Yes.
so that's all
Yes,
closed
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Great.
The one for the previous December has been handled through the town.
Terrific. Okay.
Great.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Roger?
And I had one on the adjournment. It says carry motion to adjourn the meeting of the board, seconded by Chris. It didn't mention that a vote was taken, presumably unanimous. So if that could be added.
Did you get that, Kim?
Yep, I got it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Any other comments, questions, edits?
I'll just mention that these minutes are awesome as
They
always. Thank you, Kim.
Agree. I read the minutes first, and then I watched the whatever hour and a half meeting, and I was like, I almost had it all in my head already from the minutes. So.
That's good.
Nice.
Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
All right, so all in favor of accepting the minutes with the one change?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I'm catching up here. All in favor? Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Nay. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the bills. We can entertain it doing them all at once, or we can do one at a time. I'll entertain a motion for either.
All right, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the following warrants. Number 35 in the amount of $17,426.27. Number 36 in the amount of $2,693.40. Number 37 in the amount of $4,414.80. Number 38 in the amount of $5,519.92. And number 39 in the amount of $2,730 even, with the funding sources as listed in the meeting packet.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions on any of the warrants? Discussion.
Yeah, I just had just a quick couple. So, or maybe not. Um, You may be in luck, right? Warrant number 38, the last line for 1,044.74, Illinois Library Association, was that a,
38, you said?
yeah, the warrant number 38 on the second page at the bottom says Illinois Library Association for 1,044. Was that a training of some sort? You didn't go to Chicago. Was that Beth the prior year?
No.
How much was it?
It was for 1,044. It wasn't big money, but it just kind of stuck out at me. That it
You
was
went somewhere. Where
It was at the end of
That
the year.
was in October.
that was in
though,
Maine
yeah.
though, right?
I went in October.
Right.
To a program.
So I was
this.
just curious about what that was for. It just jumped out at me as an out-of-state $1,000, but other than that, I had no questions.
Was it in Chicago when you went?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be, I don't
I
know.
wondered
Yeah.
if that was when
Subscription,
Beth
or-
went.
It
No.
looks like it was. It looks like a subscription.
Oh, was it?
But
You know what?
do we
didn't-
have the invoices attached to them
Oh, you know what?
when I signed them?
I
they are.
must have. I must. 1,000.
I guess it'll be all the way at the end.
Library gift supplies.
Did I say 39 or 38?
38.
38, if you said Illinois Library Association. It's up on the screen. If you want to look, it says Illinois Library Association Library Gift Supplies
Oh, was it? All right.
Maybe you bought paper goods for them.
Program.
Yeah.
Program material. Huh.
There's a convention in October. I don't know if it's like
Yeah.
pre-registration. for
No.
So
I
that was
believe that
library
this
gift
is-
supplies.
For programming that we're going to be doing.
Oh, okay. All right. I
So
overlooked
it's
it.
supplies for upcoming programs.
All right. Thank you. I had overlooked the detail on that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So no further comments.
Any other questions on any of the other warrants? All right. All in favor of accepting the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Did
warrants?
we have a second on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
John did.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? I declare the motion carried. Thank you for that. And then next on the business is ongoing business. So the line item that hopefully someday will go off, but HVAC.
Still there for now.
Yep.
Good that we can laugh.
So, and I believe everybody's received the director's report, which I addressed this in there, but I can go over some of the, dare I say, high points. One good thing is that we had a really productive meeting this past about a week and a half ago. Is that right?
Yep. We can help it.
And so I'd been kind of planning this for a while, and finally came to fruition that we were able to get a representative from Renaud HVAC, and they've been wonderful throughout this whole process, this ongoing, and they're about as frustrated, almost as frustrated with this as we are. So the representative from Renaud was there. I was there. Our chair Doug Bowman, and William Blake, assistant town administrator. So we wanted to get the stakeholders together to talk about what's going on, and see if there was something that we could, some way that we could address this in a more long-term capacity, instead of just what seems to be kicking the cold can down the road. We discussed the history of the project. We discussed where we are now, and we had some ideas for moving forward, and we did a little look around the building as well. The follow-up to that was also that the Renaud arranged for a representative from LG, which is the makers of the HVAC system, to come on site. Renaud actually picked up all of that on their own, which was kind of nice because they said, this one's on us. So I was pleased about that. And the LG representative spent some time up on the roof downloading all the data from all of the compressors that are up there. One of the nice things about modern systems is that they do store all their data and keep all the notices of when there were failures of the system. So he downloaded all that information, and he's in the process of assessing that to determine what's going on with the system, because LG is as frustrated as we are, and as frustrated as Renaud is, because and the patrons, because it's their system and they want to know what's going on. So hopefully we'll have something definitive from those readouts at some point in the near future, and then we can figure out where we are going to move forward. So there were some ideas kicked around. The two areas that are most affected by the malfunctioning HVAC system are the historic reading room, which as of today was 62 degrees, which even though we're moving into a little nicer weather, we're still getting cold temperatures in there. And I was just informed that this previous Tuesday night in the children's programming room, that area and the community room are on the same system, are on the same unit zone. This past Tuesday night, that room was 54 degrees in there, which is really, really cold, especially for the little ones whose bodies don't acclimate as quickly as ours sometimes do. In the community room, I think I mentioned before, when we're having a yoga class and we get 22 adults in there, it's not that bad. Warms up pretty quickly. But that children's programming room can be really cold for the little ones. So again, some ideas that were discussed. One primarily was the idea of having an alternate source of heat for the historic reading room, because the radiators are all still there. Now they're not hooked up to anything because part of the green initiatives for the development was to get out the old oil drums that were leaking anyway. But gas is still coming into the building, as we well know. And so it would be possible to install a boiler for the gas and have that hooked up to the radiators as a backup system, which would probably be a good idea, because part of the problem, as Renaud is seeing it, is that the units are having to work too hard, and so especially in the historic reading room, the units are on all the time, and they shouldn't be, and because of that, they're burning out. So if we had a backup system that would add some supplemental heating, it would likely improve the situation.
So they're recommending a backup alternate system versus adding more generators.
Well, the other thing that they were looking at is the wall units that are in there right now. They want to assess whether they feel that those are adequate size, because there was some talk.
Yeah, I would say they're not recommending anything yet. They're
Right.
taking this data and they're going to
Yeah.
So
assess.
Okay, so they're
just
considering different
researching.
options.
Researching.
I think
Yep.
there's
Okay.
right there's just to add they're looking at if it was installed correctly, which I think they think it is.
Yeah.
They're going to check to see if it's sized and check if it's sized appropriately, and then LG is just going to figure out if there's something just wrong with their system, I guess.
Yep.
And then they'll come back with their opinion.
Because we'd have to determine the costs, whether to add more LG units versus a backup. The only thing is, would that affect anything with the grant that we got?
I think that would. I don't know if you've explored that yet, but
Haven't gone there yet. Yeah.
The lead one,
Aaron?
but, okay.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
I was just thinking it would be good. I mean, it's nice to have a backup, but we really do want it a functioning.
Yep.
It needs to function well, and if we have to spend the money to do that, I think we need to.
Yeah, I'm not sure I don't know if I would call it a backup. It would be just a secondary heat source. Right?
Secondary.
Right.
Like if
right.
if that couldn't keep up, then that heat source would click on for that one room.
And it sounds like that would be the case, because we know that right now it can't sustain it.
Yep.
Right.
And it's true with a lot of, right, even residential heat pump systems, they have you still have a boiler or you still have electric heat that would fill in when it gets too cold.
Okay.
Wow.
Because that was another piece they mentioned was that, they service a lot of other commercial heat pumps. And it's not necessarily, they've seen issues with other heat pumps, not just LG. They've just seen issues with them in
Yep.
other commercial buildings, which I was kind of surprised at.
Yeah.
But
So,
That's what we have as a heat pump?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They call it,
I didn't know that.
what was the term they
Yeah.
used? It is a heat pump, but it's some kind of variable heat pump. It's a little bit different, I
VRF?
think, than that's one that's in
VRF
residential
system.
regions. Yeah.
Variable.
Sorry, Aaron.
Okay.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I went through a similar upgrade at my home. And, Dana brought up a great point, right? And, you talked about, the lead initiatives, right? And certainly, none of us would be in favor of putting oil tanks back in.
No.
But certainly, and to kind of dovetail off what Doug said, is they actually don't recommend you use your old heating system to supplement when you put in these HVAC heat pump systems. And actually, a lot of the grants kind of stipulate that they want you to in order to be eligible for the grant, you need to disconnect your old system because you're sizing it for a whole home unit, right? So that's one of the things. I'm in favor of supplemental heat 100%, and I'd like to pursue that. But certainly if it jeopardizes any grant money that we got, that would be a step in the wrong direction.
Sure.
I love the idea of a gas, fired boiler. But what I like even more is something that's a little more clean burning, like an electric boiler, if something like that exists. I know I have an electric boiler at my home. I don't know if something like that, but that's for hot water, right? This
Right.
is something that's completely different. I know
Right,
nothing
yeah.
about
Yeah.
boilers to heat
Yeah.
to heat a library. So, but that would be my preference rather than kind of taking a step back.
Yeah.
So I don't think this, sorry, go ahead.
No,
Roger?
you finish your thought.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't think we have any decision to make tonight. I mean, the big
Oh, no.
decision will be if what they come back with, is it gonna be
Right.
additional heat pumps or secondary heat or something? I mean, then we'll have to figure out where to fund that.
Did they discuss the teens room at all?
Not as much. I mean, that's part of the overall overarching issue, right? So the teen room is the office particularly is so cold because of the lack of the exhaust vent that was never installed there. So that's definitely going to be part of the larger project when we decide what
Yes.
that's going to be.
Because you might have to add more units for that, because that definitely wasn't planned for.
Yeah.
And it's still cold. Well, there's no heat in the librarian's office, and
Right.
then the teen room itself is cold.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Roger?
Yeah, do we, or did we have the same issue conversely with AC in the summer months?
I was new, so I didn't notice it as much.
Right.
And it's easier in the summer because, like, the front door leading out towards the common, we have a screen on there, so we can open the door and, it's not as noticeable.
So I guess in the winter, I don't know if this would be Renat or someone else, when you bring in the infrared and you see if the building is bleeding heat and where
Yeah.
that may be. And I think of the old doors,
Right.
leading out from the historic reading
Right.
room and how efficient, or maybe that's not the right word, but how sealed that building is in keeping in heat. And if it isn't, we're just pumping more and more and more
Yeah.
to keep maybe
Yeah.
a leaky building
Right.
warm.
So I know that if you stand in the historic reading room and you look up at the windows, you can see daylight.
Yeah.
So
That's not good.
it's not good, right? It's not encouraging. Now, I know on the other side there's a block.
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
to
I know,
I have
it's
to
very-
look at it from
yeah.
both sides.
Yeah. It's,
like a
There's-
storm
See,
window, like
we're
a
there's-
talking
I
about
think
that.
there's a
glass.
storm
The
window.
storm window's on the inside.
Yeah, so it may not be as bad as it initially appears, but it's disconcerting to
Right.
see that, and I think that an assessment like that would be really valuable.
Did you see any improvements when we, right, the vestibule has the two sets of doors, making sure the inside was closed, and then we also identified the fans that could get turned on?
Yeah. Doug noticed that there were fans on the ceiling, which you don't really think of turning on in the winter, except it keeps the hot air down. And I have noticed that's
Okay, that's helped a
improved
little,
things.
but,
Yeah.
okay.
So
And then the vestibule in the front, right, you're supposed to keep the inside doors closed so that when you open the outside door, you know, air doesn't come rushing in.
right.
And those had been propped open, a lot of the winter, and we noticed that maybe
I don't think
a
I've
month
ever seen
ago.
those closed.
Yeah.
What?
I don't think I've ever seen those closed.
Yeah,
the
so
inner
like a
doors.
month
Yeah.
ago, we
Yeah.
identified that. Hopefully they're
Yeah.
closing
I-
more.
That definitely helps, and the
Yeah.
fans certainly
Yeah,
help.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, so we're, I guess, looking forward to,
The
the
report
LG
from
assessment.
LG. Yeah.
And then the other thing we discovered, just one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The other thing we discovered was that we have access, I mean, Tom alluded to it, but there's a web dashboard. So you can log into this dashboard, William and Tom can log
Yeah.
in, they can look at
Yeah.
any faults, any messages, they can track all the rooms from a
that's great.
screen. So I think that's gonna help figure things out, at least monitor them and log
Yeah,
them so
yeah,
that we can
yeah.
convey them. Yeah.
Identify them before they become larger issues.
Right.
So
Did Aaron, you had?
So, one of the things I want to make sure that we're capturing, right, as part of this discussion is any, if we feel there's any action items. I think what Tom has done, you know, with the town is fantastic to give us an update, right? Is there anything for Tom that he should take away from this discussion? And I heard maybe two things, right? One was, you know, is it possible to, do some sort of, we're kind of losing time because the summer months are here, but to do some sort of heat map, like you said, see if Renault has, I mean, clearly there may be a cost to it, but I know Mass Saves does those sort of, you know, programs for free. If we've ever had one done, I don't know if we can have one done in a commercial building, but, so I don't know if we could ask Renault that question.
Yep.
And then, whether, I mean, I don't know who we're gonna ask if this is gonna jeopardize the grant. Are we gonna kick a hornet's nest by even asking the question? You know what
I don't know.
I think
don't know.
between Tom and I think we can reach out to MBLC.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we have a good contact there that answers quickly.
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay.
I had one thing to potentially be an action item would be to see if we've checked with the town on the electricity bill and see if that's been like going haywire, and maybe kind of get a list of what our electricity costs are for what we've had so far, and then we can see if that also affects things after everything's repaired, or if additional units are added, or whatever
we
the
get a benchmark.
yeah
Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
and see if it went haywire at some point,
Right.
you know, based on units failing and running overtime or something like that.
And to John's, to piggyback on that comment, whether or not, I guess the chargers are tied into that bill, correct?
That's a good question.
EV,
The
the
EV
EV chargers
car
run through
chargers.
the electric bill?
Don't we get,
And will we give, was it still a
I feel like
freebie?
that's
I think that's
separated.
separate, actually.
a separate
I think
bill,
that's
but-
part of the,
But those electric bills, even the building bills, come to us, right? I mean, Eileen's paying
Yep,
those, so
yep.
we
Eileen's
should be able
paying
to
them,
pull
so I
out
can
like
just
the
check with
last
Eileen.
year, 2 years of that.
Yep.
Okay.
And just get that graph.
Alright.
Yep.
Good idea. Okay. Thank you. Hopefully next month we'll have some more clarity on what the issue is and what the potential solutions are.
here's hoping.
Next is also Tom, teen office.
So,
Oh, that's the teen.
pivoting a little bit about the teen office, because there's one other issue about it, which is the flooring, which I guess came up about a year ago and then kind of
Yeah, more than a year.
lingered. But we're getting back around to that one. And so we're in the process of doing some investigating about putting down some non-carpeting flooring in the teen. It's the teen area. I refer to it as
The gaming room.
Yeah.
purple room, yeah, the grotto. Where the teens all congregate and pay homage to the big flat screen. So, which they love, but I mean, they're teens. They bring in their cups of who knows, and you know, they spill. So I don't think having carpeting in there is the best idea. So we're looking at having some sort of
Yep.
laminate, vinyl.
Totally on board with that.
Yeah, something that will wipe up easier. So I know that the head of the teen department had been looking into some ideas about what she would like, and then the town just provided a vendor that does work for them. So for this building. Here.
And as part of that too, there was talk previously about like some cup holders too for those big Slurpee.
Haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay.
Yeah, right now it's really just been what are we going to put down on the floor, and then we'll have.
I mean,
to,
it could be separate. Like
Yeah,
it's-
no, I think that would be more of a furniture thing. So I think
Okay.
we'd have to add that in. That's
Should be.
yeah, it's a great idea though. 'Cause,
There's nowhere to put drinks.
yeah,
You gotta hold them in your
There's
hand.
no place,
Right.
yeah, we
No.
need places.
and then you know when it's your
And so
turn
they
to
don't fall over.
play, you know,
Right, something like you said, a holder, not just a shelf.
cup goes who knows where.
So I would like to suggest that Debbie takes the lead on this. Like, she has the name of the installer, because she's going to be someone from the children's room is going to have to meet this person. They're going to come in and make measurements, and then look at samples or make a decision on what type of flooring so that we can
Yep.
get estimates. Do you think Debbie would be amenable to doing that?
I can inquire.
Yeah. If not, if you could help her or
and
let me know,
if
and
not,
I can
then
try
I
to
can
help.
take it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Because I think that should be
That should be,
pretty minimal, right? Just get the
Yeah.
person in and
Yeah,
they'll
and
do the
once-
measurements.
we've
Once
been
you have
waiting a long
the
time.
I think that's the hard part is like getting the person
Yeah.
organized. But yeah, talking to them, I'm sure
Right.
she got some good ideas. That's a great idea.
And yeah, thank you to William for tracking that down, because
Yeah.
I know there's been
Yep. Yep.
various installers that we've gone through, and so that's great to get the new recommendation.
We want to make sure we get a good installer.
Yes.
So just while we're on the topic of teen, how with the recent rain, how is the door flooding situation in the teen?
Stable. We're still getting dampness
Okay.
on the inside, and I know that's still on the punch list for the town because they're the ones who are looking into the gutters.
Okay.
I know that they had somebody come and do an assessment of the gutters.
Oh, they did.
They did, and they found a lot of debris in there that you don't expect to find in gutters, like building materials from when the building had been expanded.
What about the cupola repair? You think that
Could have been from that as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Maybe.
they found like a lot of the ties that that they secure things with. There were a significant amount of things like that in the gutters.
And that's like the DPW that came and looked at that, or
believe
a
it was,
third party?
yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. No,
Yeah.
that's thanks to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, that's great.
So there's the gutters, but then there's also like the door itself. There's an
Yeah.
issue with the bottom of the door.
So, and it's believed that the issue with the door is magnified by what the overflow and the fact that the spouts are not going where they need to be going. So I think there needs to what I've heard them talk about is that as a redirection of the flow from the
Yeah, I think if it's not splashing onto that pad, it's probably going to be fine because everything's going to go where it should go.
right.
If
Right.
that gets fixed.
Right.
Or they'll put in like a French drain or some kind of thing
I
to
think
keep
so.
the water out.
Who will do all that work? Do we know?
I'm guessing the DPW will
The
figure out
town
what
is-
needs to get done, and they'll
Yeah.
decide
They're
whether or
gonna
not.
do
Yep,
it?
they're working. They were looking into
Excellent.
a vendor to take care of that. Yeah,
So that's not on your list then?
that one's not
Excellent.
exclusively on my list. Yes, yeah,
That's
Great.
good.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Tom on the teen grotto? All right. So, Dana, Grafton celebrates the holidays. This isn't related to last year's?
No, this is for the future.
Okay.
So I was suggesting, since it's 2025, why don't we plan ahead for December and say that we're gonna fund the staff that have to work overtime on that day because it's a Sunday.
Yeah.
I think based on, and Tom, correct me if you're wrong, based on conversations with the town, I'm not sure we can make that decision
Oh, we can't?
because of the union. If they are,
Oh,
if they already work a full week, let's say they work their normal full week in
Yeah.
the library and then they work the holidays, and they'll get overtime because that's part of their contract. I think this past year, right? This past year, it was just because no one had filled out their full week over that time. So I
Somebody
think,
needs to go beyond 40 hours. So everybody, the full-time people, their regular work week is 35 hours.
okay.
If they work beyond 35 hours, it is considered overtime, but it is at the same pay rate.
It's not time and a half.
It's not
Okay.
time and a half.
Okay.
It's the same pay rate as the first 35 hours. Once they go beyond 40 hours, anything beyond 40, then kicks in a different pay rate.
Okay. So does that
I
mean
think
That
what we would
just
have to,
wait?
I think what, well, I'm not saying we wait. I think what we really need to do is have the conversation with the town
Oh,
to
okay.
decide what can be done and if, because they were very explicit with this year that this was
Okay.
a one-time thing and we have
Right.
to figure it out
Okay.
for the next year.
All right.
So the part of the
So-
agreement for this past one, again, as Doug was alluding to, was that it was agreed upon between the library, the town, the union, that this was for this previous
Okay.
instance, and that was it.
Did we fund
wouldn't-
that, the
and doing-
trustees?
And doing
did.
that,
Okay.
would not establish any
precedent. Okay.
or
I mean, I'm all in favor, right? It's a great event. We want to make sure that
Yeah,
it's supported.
that's pretty
I
important
just don't,
event.
not sure we know how that can be accomplished at this point
Should we
without
take the lead
conversation
on
with the
that,
town.
or should that somebody else do that?
if I may, I do know that the town just wants to make sure that you're aware that if you take it on, you're taking it on in perpetuity. Because once you do that, then it'll establish a precedent.
Okay. The only issue I see is that I think I guess we could do it year by year, but it seems to me like we're gonna have another holiday. We're gonna celebrate that, not unless something happens with the town, right? So
I'm
if
not
you
sure
wanna
what-
wait,
I'm not
I mean,
sure
it's
what
gonna
you mean.
happen regardless, right? We're gonna have another Grafton Celebrates the Holidays. And those staff are still gonna be working. And
So-
most of them work 35 hours, right?
Right, I think that's one of the things that I heard from the town is if they work their normal week and then they're working extra, they're gonna be eligible for that extra pay
Oh,
regardless.
so we wouldn't, so we don't
Well,
have
not
to.
really.
At least for 35 to 40, yeah, I guess for 35 to 40,
No,
it's just
I-
they'll get paid, but
they're-
not overtime.
Well, they're paid hourly, right? So
That's something I'd like to clarify,
Maybe-
if you don't mind.
Cindy's right here too.
Yeah, Cindy's here. I think maybe she might have to,
Well,
we may not be understanding it.
Well, no.
Let's let
I
Aaron
mean,
finish first.
Okay.
So, are there anybody who have, is everybody hourly besides you? Are you the only
Yes.
salaried
Yes.
employee?
Yes.
Okay, right, so there's no, I just wanted to distinguish, if there's somebody who's salary, then, it may be within their responsibility to work that holiday, right? So, I'm talking about from corporate, this is how I understand it. If your employer and your salary asks you to stay late or work on the
Yeah.
weekend, you're salaried, right? And that's why
It's Tom.
Tom's here tonight, right? Because he's salaried. I was wondering if anybody else on staff was that. Okay.
No.
End of story.
okay,
Yep.
okay, but so here's the concern. So some people who work the Sunday, unless they're already hitting their 40 hours,
Right.
they're not going to get time out. So it would be hard to try to come up with the right mix of employees to ensure that everybody who's available to work that Sunday and wants to work that Sunday is going to be at the 40 hours to get the time and a half. So they're going to get compensated for their hours. So that's good, but we'd like to do that little bit of extra. And the concern is that we're setting a precedent, but
Well, I'd say there's two concerns. There's that other town departments don't pay time and a half. So like the rec department, in fact, I think a lot of them are doing it for whatever.
But are they
volunteer.
union?
but,
Are they
but we
union?
can't have the librarians volunteer.
Well, they're getting paid. They're
Well,
not volunteering.
They're not volunteering.
They're not volunteering.
They're
They are
getting
getting
paid.
paid for the
They're
hours
just
they
getting
work.
paid their hourly. Yeah.
But if the number of people who are at 35 hours who would even be close to getting to the past 40 hours are minimal,
Yeah, okay.
honestly, right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
yes, I worked it. I mean, you know, I didn't get it. I didn't get paid for it. But
Me too.
if you have somebody who's an 18-hour-a-week employee, and they work these extra 5 hours, they're getting paid for the 5 hours they're working.
But not the.
But they're certainly not going to be going over 40. They're not going to get to 45.
Yeah.
We have other issues that.
I think also too, one thing that's different about like library employees, like throughout the entire year, like library staff are being asked to work every other Saturday. So a lot of the other, like I know there are some, folks in town that have to do that too, but this is one day a year that they're doing this extra on top of like their every other Saturday. So I think it's I am totally supportive of, finding a way to do it. And I understand we have to do it the right way, but I'm personally not concerned about setting the precedent because I think it's a good precedent to set that we, compensate everybody for, for that.
Well,
And I'm not trying to dissuade you in any way. I just want you to be aware of because
Oh,
you're
no,
walking
it's-
into
yeah.
something,
Yeah.
and you just need to know what.
But we're only
the
talking
ramifications
about,
would be.
like, we're talking about, part of a day, and we're not talking about the full, like, we're not talking about the full hourly cost, we're talking about the incremental, the half
Yeah,
portion. So it's
right.
not a huge amount that we're
Right.
talking
Well-
about, and it's very much appreciated by the staff.
Sure, sure. I mean, this past year, I don't remember how many. Remember how many people it was? Eight.
At least 8, right?
I think it was 8 people. That might have included me. So maybe seven or eight people. So 7 or 8 people. And you're paying
And
them.
it was wonderful,
Yeah, it's a wonderful event and it's
As you said,
very
a
well
half.
attended.
You know, you're not paying the entire you're not sponsoring the day.
Right.
They're being paid for what they do.
Right.
But you would be
Yeah.
if you decided to move forward with this, you'd be picking up.
And it's very supportive. We have lots of volunteers that day, so that's, so we have professional staff supporting the town and all the.
So I can just, I mean,
have an idea.
we're gonna go back and forth over and over.
Yeah.
And I
No,
think
no.
as a board, we support it, right? We
Yeah,
support the
yeah,
event,
yeah,
we support
yeah.
trying to compensate them. Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, maybe what we need to do, you can look into it, is that they know that we paid last year, right? If we wait until the event, we're gonna pay it, but then we'll know we'll know what needs to be paid.
Well, I
It won't be
completely
as
agree.
much
We
que-
can,
won't be as
we have
much
enough time that we
questions.
can get it figured out well in advance
Yeah.
of the event.
Yeah.
So I'll take that. I'll continue to have the conversations with the town and with
Okay.
Tom.
I mean, if they need us to
and-
wait to after the fact.
Well, we have enough time, right? I mean, there's plenty of months to do it. The other thing it may impact is something that we haven't encountered yet, but after our events.
And
If we have after our event in the community room where the library's closed, but we need a staff, someone there to help monitor the building, that's another issue because it's not in anyone's job description.
So I actually received a call, and I was going to wait until we got to the library hours, but maybe this is a good time. So I actually received a call from a lovely lady, Marge Albright, who is celebrating with her husband their 30th wedding anniversary, and they're very much interested in using our community room and having it an event open to the public. Where there would be music. They would love to take advantage of the piano that's there, but I think they're trying to figure out how to make that happen. So I don't know if you got it. I think that she tried to reach out to you. I don't know, Tom, if you got a chance to.
They
talk to her.
have contacted us about
Yeah.
this, and they wanted to have it on a Sunday, though.
And
The
what
library's not open.
time of the year?
July 20th.
Yeah.
July 20th at 3 p.m. She said. So, and they're very supportive of the library, and and they're excited about having a community room and looking forward to having it. And they again wanted to have it open to the public, have music available for people to attend.
Someone would have to pay all the salaries for whoever's gonna be here that day.
I think there's it's not
Don't we have
a
a policy?
topic that I think we can agree to talk about how we could accommodate such an event.
Yeah.
Cause I don't think it's something that, we would necessarily ask staff to be there. I mean, this is more talking about the, library after hours. I mean, you said
Exactly, and that's
community
why I
room,
thought that,
so
yeah.
not the historic reading room, that's a different story, but community room, we did design that to be
I know we
used by
did.
the
Yeah.
public for events.
But we determined that like the locks and things don't
The alarm.
Yeah, the alarm system. It doesn't function as separately for like that zone or whatever. So
Yeah.
we essentially, as far as we know right now, we would need a staff member to be there to
Well-
lock up.
Well, or someone responsible for doing that
Correct,
piece.
so
Yes.
it could be
thought we
almost
were-
anyone around this table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be responsible for doing that as stewards of the library. I'm just bringing that, if we
Yeah.
hadn't considered that, certainly, within our purview to have alarm access.
So why don't we, I mean, it sounds like the request has gone to Tom, if we could get a volunteer, especially if someone was involved with the rental policy, to work with Tom just to see what the options are for being able to support that type of event, if everyone's in agreement.
Yeah, but by July, yeah, I can take that on with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll help.
I mean, certainly, I think the board is in favor of, having those events if it's possible, right? I mean, that's
Yep.
why building was designed that way.
Yeah, well, my question too is, remember, have we had any outside groups use the room since it's been open? Cause we were talking about that's happened now, okay. So outside groups.
During library hours.
During library hours.
Right.
Yep.
This is different because it's outside of library hours.
Correct.
And that's really, I mean, that.
And
when
our
I-
hours
when we-
change.
When Kim spoke to this couple, the reason that we weren't initially more encouraging to them is because it was beyond library hours.
Yeah.
And that needs to be resolved before we can
Be
know
more
whether we
forthcoming.
can,
Absolutely.
right,
Yep.
know whether we can do that.
And it likely might not be library staff, right, if it's not in their contract.
Okay, it's not in the contract.
We'd have to
Can't be.
somehow,
Yeah,
work
it
around
can't
the
be library.
right.
Okay, you
Right.
corrected me, thank you.
Right. But during library hours, we're getting a great response. So we have actually had quite a few private citizens groups and
Good.
town functions for different board meetings that are taking place. Yeah.
Okay, terrific.
Got
Okay.
a
Okay.
great response.
That's
Okay.
good, thank you.
so that sounds like the action item is the two of you
Yep.
will look into that. Great.
Yep.
And you can report back to us next month.
Great.
I had one quick
Okay.
thing about the Grafton Celebrates the Holidays thing. Hopefully it's just a quick question of, can we pay, would we be able to pay for that out of state aid? Or would
We
we
can.
have, we can?
Yep, we can
Okay.
We did.
pay for library temps or,
Yeah.
that could
Okay.
come out of
Yeah,
state.
we
The wages are,
Yep.
Yep.
okay, all right. That was it.
Okay, moving on to item D, annual report. So maybe this was some miscommunication for me last month since I wasn't here, so sorry about that. But at the meeting before that, the board approved me putting that report together and sending it to the town, which I did. I did consult Aaron and Roger on a couple items. So that was really just more of an FYI, like this annual report was submitted and accepted by the town. You should have seen a copy of that last
did.
month. Yep. So that's all set, and it would be, I mean, it's like that big green book, but in the 2024 version.
Yes, oh, yeah. Right,
That's
yeah.
the 2023 version.
When I first moved into town and built in 2000, this book was 120 pages. It's now like 360,
Wow.
so.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
If you
lot
want to
going
learn
on.
about the finances of the town or
Yeah.
everything, that's the book
It's
to
in
get.
it.
yeah. Everyone always gravitates toward what's my kid's teacher earning? Everyone goes to that.
That's right.
that section.
We are in line.
It's like,
Not enough.
yeah,
Is that the town annual report?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's right.
but that's for 2023.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you have a copy?
Well, no, but I just submitted the library report for
Yes.
2024.
That's
So,
all right, yes.
yeah.
Yep,
Yes.
there's
So,
copies over there on that table.
so the library trustees and the library report don't always. They have sometimes ended up back to back, but it's random from year to year where they end up. I'd like to see that like back to back. But
I know, it's always because, I think it's because, right, it's the board of trustees.
Right,
And then it's the
it's-
library.
it's alphabetical.
Oh, so you get to go
alphabetical.
first, huh?
yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good question. I could ask, who's the new clerk?
Cindy Ide?
No,
No.
town
So I
clerk.
was working.
Town clerk.
Oh, town clerk, sorry.
Anyway.
I
That's who
forget,
I was
but,
submitting to for the
well, one of the things
town
about the,
administrator.
the annual report is this, is that, the select board is charged by the town charter to put this together. All of the departments and the boards and committees, submit it, and I know that, Cindy, and Amber Monk, between the two of them, they kind of look through everything. But what's interesting is that the select board never actually votes on the on accepting or putting together the report. It never ends up in the meeting packet. Then, at town meeting, oddly enough, there's a motion or a warrant article to sort of accept it without ratification of the recommendations, so that town meeting's not on the hook for funding things that are in here that are recommended. But what's interesting, it's not an actionable item. It's just more of a folksy custom that has no bearing on anything, because the select board is responsible for putting it together. So this document, with the exception of the good eyes of Cindy and Amber, is basically a free-for-all of whatever people submit. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's an oddity that it's not really formally voted on by the select board.
So it's both informational and could be entertaining.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Really?
yeah, it's
I put
We
in
work
some
really
doo-
hard on
I put in
this.
some real doozies in my report, yeah.
yeah. There you go. So you could put. I mean, I recommend, and I'll say this tongue in cheek. I mean, you could put some really archaic language because we're a library. We could
Right.
use some old English in there, and it would absolutely pass muster, I'm sure. So, so,
Next year.
yeah, next year. So, but yeah, so I'm glad that that those two things are submitted so people can see the work that the library does.
Great. Thank you for that. Any other questions on the annual report? If not, we'll move on to staff appreciation. with
Oh,
Carrie.
I do have one question. Because, and I guess this is the same with the school, where, and maybe even the police department, where when we go on the town website, the library or what have you, school, police department, fire, it directs you to another website of our own. Are our annual reports on the library website from the prior years? Do we catalog
I
them?
believe they are.
Yeah, that would be a nice thing as we're redoing the website,
Yeah, I noticed that's, yep.
to have the report of the trustees and then the library report parsed out somewhere identifiable on the website.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Great,
Thank you.
thank you. Staff appreciation, Carrie.
Okay, so well, first I wanted to thank Kim for her helping facilitate the process of trying to figure out what our staff would appreciate in their appreciation. So for the staff appreciation, we initially kind of thought of something a little bit more, kind of traditional, like, with like a jacket or, or shirt or a hat. And Kim, again, kind of took the lead and talked to the staff. And it really kind of came back that isn't probably the number one thing that they're looking for, is like a jacket or a shirt or a hat. And so we came up with a little bit of an unconventional idea for what might be nice for staff appreciation. And so the idea is something that would kind of promote good health. It would allow the staff to express kind of their creativity with different colors, and it's something that they could use every day. So so it's just a little bit different. So so the item, and I actually meant to bring one because I have one myself. So the idea would be that each of the members of the staff would have a water bottle, but it would be a water bottle that would have the Grafton Public Library logo on it, and it would be provided by a company that would allow the staff to choose what color they wanted for their water bottle. So it's something that they could have on their desk at the office if they go to an event like the fun fair or Oktoberfest. They could bring it with them, and it's something they could even use at home as well. So, so that was kind of the idea that came up. So, just curious if that's something that the board, would be interested in supporting, and if so, like, we, have started to look into like costing for that. But just yes.
Are you, it almost sounded like you were recommending a specific product. Is there a specific product?
There is one that we
Yeah.
did. When Kim and I kind of looked at it, there is a specific product. It's a water bottle that's very popular now that comes in really fun colors and a lot of different options. So the water bottle is called a Awala. And it usually they have like 3 different colors.
Yeah.
So if we think that we're interested, I don't know, if folks. I have my teenagers like the Awala, so like it's
What's it called again?
Odwalla.
It's a Awala. So
Odwalla.
yeah, it's an Australian product. It's yeah, so
Never
it's
heard of it.
kind of
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question. So this is more for Tom. And maybe you don't know the answer to this question, but do you feel that most staff feel like they have enough, Grafton Public Library branded material so that, if they had to go out to an event, they could put on like a summer reading T-shirt or something to that effect, something that represents the library? Because I think that was kind of
Something more visible.
more visible, right? And this is staff appreciation, and it's not like what the board wants, right?
Well, that's the whole point. And
Yes.
then it would actually have like so we found a company that actually would put like on it a
Yes.
Grafton Public Library like logo right on it. It wouldn't just be the water bottle. It would
Yeah.
be Grafton Public Library logo on there. And we can we can provide like examples of what it would look like. I apologize. I actually thought I had it with me, Kim, and I don't have
Yeah.
it. But
We've done that before.
Yeah.
We've gotten, I mean, even like this is a Yeti, but it's really easy to get it branded.
Yeah, it
On
is.
Walla, there's a bunch
Yeah,
of
it
brands
is.
that do that.
I like the idea. If you think it'll be well received, absolutely.
I think so because Kim did reach out. I don't know. Yeah. So
Yeah, I see them. They come in all different colors. I'm online looking at them.
Yep.
I think if you guys want to pursue that, I'd be on board with that.
terrific. Okay.
I am too. I mean, especially if there's it makes them happy. That's what we're trying to do. And
Yeah.
Also if there's
That's the
some
whole
logoing
idea.
on it that, when they're at a table and there's a Grafton Public Library water bottle sitting there, people will ask about it.
So
Okay.
the only concern I have with
Yeah.
when we buy products, right, for current staff members or for anything
Right.
you're doing, promotional material, somebody gets hired, and doesn't get something.
Doesn't.
They always feel left out. Like,
Do we want to buy a couple extras? Like
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
should.
It'd be
Definitely.
nice to have, they clearly wouldn't be able to choose their color, but I don't know,
Yeah, but
there's
we
some
could get-
popular colors, the best sellers or something, we could get some extra. That'd be my
That's
recommendation.
a wonderful idea. Okay.
And they don't want any T-shirts or any. They don't want any kind of item to go with it. So if they go to like an event, they don't really care about that.
I think we should do one or the other, maybe not,
Okay.
not mix.
Yeah, I mean, not to say that we couldn't do that in the future, but I mean, these, like to put the Grafton logo
Yeah,
on it,
I
it
think
is going
it's
to cost
fine.
a little bit, more. So I think, I guess my thought
I'm
is.
not disagreeing, I just
yeah.
wondered if in addition,
Yeah.
that's all.
Would it be possible also to, and maybe you already have an agreement with some printing company that we could order in batches from time to time based on the needs, right, of the staff. So it wouldn't have to be an appreciation event, but it would be something that if somebody felt like, they were going to an event, didn't have anything to wear, that would be something that we could order a batch of products. Anything in mind?
We don't have anything set up. That's,
Okay.
not that I've been aware of. No,
Yeah.
I don't know of any thing that happened before I got here of
Well,
promoting promotional materials.
I know the Boy Scouts that I'm part of that organization, they have some local printing companies. Every time they get some new members, they need to do batches of orders. I wonder if I could pass that information
Yeah,
along.
you can
It's not
send me
Boy
that
Scout
information, then I
specific.
can keep that on file and.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess for next steps, we'll, for maybe next meeting, we'll present, the quote.
Yeah, I
We
would,
might as well get it going.
Yep.
Yep.
We wanna give them we want them to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as possible.
Yeah,
We
I mean, we
certainly
have
missed
a-
our opportunity last year, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, you did some appreciation events, at least two.
We did, oh yeah.
we did,
John,
you
yeah.
guys did the
Yeah.
Yeah.
gift thing, but,
Yeah,
I mean,
we did.
I personally am still very much in favor of like a hosted event where we have the staff and,
I agree.
Yeah, I am
and
too.
people, cause I think, we don't get to see the staff all the time, and even if we go in the library, you're only gonna see a small subset of people. I really like that event. So I think we should still consider that for the fall, even in
Yeah, I think-
addition,
yeah, I
even
think-
addition to this water bottle gift.
Okay. So
Okay.
I guess for the water bottle, like, would we, I guess, like, we have like a ballpark figure for what it would cost. Will we entertain a motion, like, to fund it so that we can kind of proceed with it? Or would you like to kind of see, like, more information about it?
What was the ballpark
Yeah, why don't we,
per,
Yeah.
per unit?
I think-
Customized?
Yeah.
It was,
It was a little, so, so there was 22 people total, right, when we added in the,
and
all
you're gonna
the
get
staff?
extra.
23 actually.
23, okay, and we don't have the extras on there, so, so the total ballpark
It was
was
just under
like,
1,000.
yeah, about 1,000.
So like 50 bucks a unit.
Yeah, but it would be, again, personalized, with the Grafton Public Global
And it's
Library.
insulated, right?
They're very high quality, they're,
Right.
It's something
do
they
it.
literally could use every single day. I know I used mine every day.
We have them and they're indestructible. They're like these things, right? They're
Well, why don't we figure
Vacuum
that out?
sealed, they
Why don't we
last forever.
have a motion if they're ready?
Maybe,
No, I think ballpark is fine.
I think ballpark
Okay.
is fine, and
So-
we can.
say like,
Okay, good.
like, if
You
we're
mean
gonna
for
get
a motion? You
couple-
mean, or to wait till next month?
We can wait till, once you, put something in front of us, we can approve it. Yeah, so
think
there's no
that's
reason
fine.
to do a motion to approve. it.
Okay, I just thought it would be good if you could order them right away.
Well, I guess that's my question is like, if so Kim did actually, she found it, I don't have the paper in front of me, but if we could say like up to $1,100,
with them
$1,200,
now.
whatever, and then let
Why
her
wait another
proceed?
month? I'd like to get them ordered.
And it would be so nice because tomorrow actually is Staff Appreciation Day, right? So it would be nice to be able. Oh, is it? Isn't the library closed? Is it?
Oh, the
that's-
staff development day?
Oh, Staff Development Day.
April
yeah,
10th.
Okay.
April 10th.
So it would be really nice to announce it to folks that that it was approved and that we're proceeding.
So how much is it? $50 a unit? You don't know.
About
Right around there.
yeah, it was right around there, and then so we think it would be under. It'd be, I mean, with
With the added,
the added.
it would be over 1,000.
So can I make a motion that will fund staff appreciation Awala water bottles up to $1,100 and allow Kim to proceed?
I think we need,
Do we need a funding source?
Yes, but
gift
I think you
account.
need
Isn't that
to go
stated?
higher, right?
Yeah.
Because you're
Say
talking
12.
Yeah, that's
30
not
units,
enough.
30 units at $50 a piece, $1,500.
Yeah.
if we're getting extras, right?
I don't think it's $50. It was more like $40 by my estimation. So you're looking at least $1,200.
Maybe
Be approved
1,500.
up
Up
to-
to 1,500.
I'd say 1,500 is probably good.
Because you probably want to order a couple extra, right? Isn't that what you're talking about? At least
Right.
2 or 3 extra.
So we're
again-
talking about 23, so we want to do 30?
30 units, I think, would be
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Okay, so
Right.
1,500? Okay, so Kim, does that sound fair?
Do you want to amend your motion?
I'd like to amend my motion. So I'd like to make a motion to fund $1,500 from state aid to provide staff appreciation for our library staff in the form of personalized Grafton Public Library Awala water bottles, where they would be able to choose their preference for what color they would like for their bottle to express their creativity.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Nope, as long as Kim got all that.
Yeah.
She's got it. She's got it.
Okay.
So if that's
I would-
approved, then at the staff development day, we could announce that.
Yep.
Okay.
And I would say you might even,
You might have them.
well,
No,
yeah,
no,
no,
it's
I
tomorrow.
was gonna say you might get some community members that might want one at some point. So it could be a future opportunity for
That's right.
some
We can make some
promotional
money.
items. Okay, sorry, motion made and seconded. No further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I declare the motion carried. Great, thanks
you,
for both of you
everybody.
for looking into that.
Oh,
Not
definitely.
only talking to the staff, but also looking into options.
Thank you.
Friends update, Carrie, still
Yeah.
with you.
Yes. Okay. So, friends, the spring egg hunt on the Grafton Common is scheduled for Saturday, April 12th. And last time it wasn't finalized, but I'm really excited to announce that this year there's a little bit of a change. So we're still going to have our 2 traditional egg hunts. So there'll be one at 10:45 and one at 11:30. The tickets are available for sale now. You can actually order them online, which I'm hoping has been helpful for our library staff instead of the paper tickets that we traditionally did. But what I'm really excited is we've added this year, and this was at the request of a local parent, is we've added a sensory-friendly hunt, which will be at 10 a.m. So the first one will be a little bit quieter. We won't have the public announcements that we usually do, and it'll be, geared towards children with, that is, with sensory issues and, their, family members and friends. And then at 10:45, then we'll start with the regular hunt. We have our representative, David Meridian, who does a wonderful job as MC, coming back again. And so we're just really excited.
Excellent, that's always a wonderful event.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
I know you have a number of volunteers, including the scouts, helping with all the eggs. Having the extra, so 3 sessions, right? The sensory session.
The first one will be a little bit smaller. It won't be as big as the second 2 sessions.
So I've not been part of this before, but do you think there'll be enough time adding in that third one to get enough of the setup for the next one?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because the egg hunts go quick, because kids can get 10 eggs real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's 45 minutes, I believe, between the different hunts, because there's 10 o'clock, 10:45, and then I think 11:30. I should
Okay.
double check that. But it's on the Friends website, and then I think it's also there's a link to it on the library website as well. And again, you can buy the tickets. You don't have to. Although we of course encourage you to go to the library, you don't have to go to the library to buy the tickets for the event. And then we have support from our children's librarian, head of library services. There'll be events inside the library, and there's actually expanded events. So there's going to be kind of rolling stories, through in the children's room. But then also there'll be some of the larger games as well. That'll be set up in different locations in the library as well. So we're really excited. We always, kind of partner with, especially with the children's room. So
Great, that's very exciting.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because you have them engaged for 10 minutes of activity, and then they're like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
party's over.
yeah,
let's
but
go
no,
home,
they
right?
they head into the
Yeah,
library.
I love
Yep,
that.
Yeah,
That's
so
fantastic.
they head over to the library, so we can have them, go over there. Now we have, all of our space available again. So we're really.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a promotional event for the library, less than it is, an egg hunt, to celebrate, the holiday. So I do like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so
Great. Any other questions on that event?
one other thing for the friends. So last time we talked about the replacement table. So Kim again, helped out and did pricing for the replacement table, and as requested by the friends, Kim had provided estimates for various round tables. So, so when we were actually planning, for the egg hunt, I met with the with members of the Friends Board, and upon further consideration, they thought a rectangular table would actually be better after all, which is what we originally had. So Kim kindly again provided another estimate for two different tables. They're the same length and height, but the depth, there's two different options for the depth. So one of the depths would be 30 inches deep, the other one would be 36 inches deep. So the 30-inch deep one, and this is a quote from Tucker Library Interiors, would be $1,300, and the one for the 36-inch deep would be $1,400. I have not had a chance to present that to the to the Friends Board to see which one they prefer. I suspect they prefer the skinnier one, but I can confirm that. But even if they went with the deeper one, it would be 1,400. So I guess I would like to make a motion, because we have talked about this before, to to fund this for the Friends. It's something that got damaged along the way, through no fault of theirs. So we would like to fund that. So if I could perhaps make a motion to fund a replacement table up to $1,500 to replace the table that was damaged for the Friends.
So two couple questions before we entertain the motion. So that would be times two though, right? Because there's two of each? Or
No, it's just one table.
just one table, okay. Can you remind me where it was?
It was in the Friends Corner. So in the Friends Corner, there are two tall round tables,
Right.
and those are totally fine. There was a rectangular table that goes in front of, so where the window is
Oh,
in the
okay.
Friends Corner, and then there's a bench, and then there were short chairs that went with that table.
Okay.
So that table, we don't know what happened to it, but it's gone. So so now the Friends have two round, high, kind of like pub type, tables, or like
This all happened during the flooding, correct? Wasn't around that
in
time?
some time, yeah. So
Yeah.
So as you recall, the Friends graciously allowed the library to use the Friends Corner to provide children's library services while the children's room was not available. So when they came back, it's like, well, the table was gone. We don't know. We don't know what happened to
Mr.
it.
Chair, I think we have to, there's a motion on the table, and then we have to.
Did she actually complete the motion?
She did.
Did she?
But
Okay,
we
I'm
wait
sorry.
for a
I
second-
didn't-
Second, and then we can
Okay.
discuss it.
Yep, so
Yeah.
motion made
And second.
and seconded.
Yeah.
All right.
Now we can
Sorry about that. I didn't realize she actually
Apologies.
finished her thought. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
I was just wondering, so you said two tables for a total of 1,500?
No.
One table?
No, there's two round tall tables that are there. Those are totally fine. I'm talking about one table to replace the one table that was damaged. And it originally, they thought they wanted a round table, but when we got out the measuring tape in the Friends Corner, they realized, no, we really, the design that the architect had made sense, and we want a rectangular table.
And so you price this out?
No, Kim priced this out.
Kim, you
this
priced
is
it out?
Kim,
Thanks, Kim.
Furniture is expensive, huh?
Well,
I know, like
1,500
a chair like I'm sitting on is probably like $700 or something. It's really
but this
Oh,
matches.
no, I was
like,
surprised it's
everything.
just
It's, yeah,
1,500.
commercial
We paid a lot
tables.
for other.
okay.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Right, so, I heard damaged and missing, no, so, but which is it? Cause that is.
It's missing, presumably damaged and disposed of somehow. We don't know where the table is.
Wait, so I guess if it's missing, it's not damaged, it's missing, right?
Damaged
Well, I don't think
first and then
somebody.
missing.
I don't.
think it
I
was damaged and
don't think that
disposed.
somebody
I think-
stole
I
it,
think
but
it got- yeah.
yeah, it's gone. It is no one.
I mean,
We don't know
that's
exactly.
concern. I mean, that's beside the point, but it's concerning that something could go missing
Yeah.
that we have
Very strange.
ownership of.
When did
you
it
know,
go
or-
missing?
I think it got,
Right.
It was all during the day when I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah.
burst. Wasn't it? I thought this was the same time when we had the flooding. Was that almost this? Wasn't it the same?
So
Yeah.
Like, did anyone ask the custodian? Because who would have gotten rid of it besides a custodian?
Yeah.
And would it be in DPW?
I mean, unless
hands or
the,
storage?
unless it was actually during remediation and one of those companies got rid of it, which could have been too, right?
I
If it-
think it was gone before Tom came on board. We didn't have a library director.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah.
I didn't take it. I didn't damage it. I don't know.
But have we asked the
I don't-
staff what may have, do we know
Yes, we were
affirmatively?
embarrassed.
I mean, so everyone
Nobody
that's there,
knows.
no one knows what happened to this thing.
What we know clearly is it is not in the building.
Yeah, and that's all I was asking, because I
yeah,
heard
yeah.
a couple things, right? And
Yeah.
if it's damaged, I'd like to see it, but if it's missing,
Yeah.
then we can't see it, so we'll presume
Yeah.
missing.
I don't think we really know whether it was
Yeah.
damaged or not. The presumption was that it had been speculation was perhaps it was damaged.
Yeah.
That can't be proven because it's not
Because nobody can
it's
see
not
it.
accessible.
But
don't
if
know
we
where it is.
ruled out that it may not be in storage and does DPW, I mean, I think that would be, I wouldn't go on a wild goose chase, but I would think that if anyone would know if it could be in storage because it was moved for a purpose.
We don't have anything for the library, like
We've
the
got
library, like unless it's in the attic, which, I mean, somebody could go
It's
up and
not
look in the
there.
attic.
I've been up
but-
there, it's not there.
Yeah, because all the remediation, right, all just got moved within the library to other places.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all.
I have a question. Did the Friends consider other funding sources? Such as the capital campaign?
I did hint at that a while ago. Because shouldn't we be ordering something should we order what the architect originally ordered? Or not? Do you care?
But this is like in the same, like the table is the same as the other tables. Like, I mean, this is.
I'm just thinking that the Friends donated money for that room and to the capital campaign, and
Yeah,
to me, it makes sense that the capital campaign would pay for that.
that's what I thought we talked about
But-
a while ago.
That's up to the board, right? If the board wants to pay for it out of, I mean, we have a couple funding sources. We have
With
the, trust funds that
Yeah.
would be applicable for furniture. Actually, I guess.
What's the
that's-
balance of the trust fund?
I had
I thought
checked,
we had depleted those.
Oh, no.
we did, but I had checked like 2 months ago, and certainly it's more than $1,500. It's considerable.
Okay.
Is there any reason not to go through the capital campaign for the funding?
Well, Leeds money is not under our control, that's gone back to, right?
No.
No.
I mean,
No.
technically, the Leeds money
No.
could be used,
We're
because
thinking-
it's still part of the original project.
Yeah, that's
that's more
could
what
be,
I'm thinking.
maybe that's a good source. Because we're definitely probably gonna be using that, I think, in the future for fixing up the HVAC, the.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried. I'd rather save that money for the larger expenses, personally.
Save what money?
The
The
lead
lead
money,
money.
Okay.
right? I mean, if that's 40,
'Cause
50 grand, I'm just throwing numbers out, but if it's a big number, I think you want to keep money there.
Yeah.
Whereas the, trust funds, are a little bit smaller,
Mm-hmm.
or the capital campaign.
So,
'Cause the
Mr.
capital campaign has funded other furniture items for the library as
We
part of
have.
its mission.
And there were a lot more.
So, Mr. Chair, would, and I guess, through you to Carrie, how soon is this needed? Is lack of a table an imposition right now?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is in
definitely.
position,
Okay.
and it's not just for the Friends. That room is open to the entire community. And this is an appropriate sized table. They are able to borrow some tables that are the library tables, but those are really too big. Like, this is really the appropriate sized table.
Okay.
It's a little bit smaller.
So
For
the
that
source, so the source would be, did you mention the source of funding in your main
I did
motion?
not, I didn't, mention a source, it sounds like, Doug, you would prefer not to do the lead, so I don't know if there's another one that you would suggest.
Well, my opinion would be to go to the capital campaign to fund it.
Why don't you just take it to the capital campaign and we'll fund it. We can have a meeting, discuss it. That's what I thought we were gonna do originally. It's 15.
That's just my opinion, right?
And
I'm
it
just one
matches,
person.
it's gotta match what it's gotta match the room.
It's
You've
just
done your
been, that is
homework on
within
it.
the mission of the, capital campaign.
Yeah.
Right, so we don't have any purview over that, so the motion on the table is
Correct.
to
So I guess I withdraw my motion then.
Well, I mean, it's open to discussion if anyone else has any comments. And what would be the funding source for your motion? So we would need a funding motion,
She
funding
said
source.
state aid.
You said state aid.
so you can withdraw it or we can vote on it.
I mean, if that's the preference of the capital campaign, then I will withdraw my motion.
I would say we'd go ahead and vote on the motion so that we can hear everyone's opinion on if they want the,
And that would presume that there's no further discussion
Yeah.
Correct.
for you? All
right, so, hearing none, I would say vote on the current motion, which would be to fund it through the, state aid, as the motion mentioned. All in favor? Okay, all opposed?
Opposed.
I declare the motion, never done that, declare the motion.
I don't know whether you have to do a roll call on that, but I think it's pretty clear. It was a 1 to what? How many of us are here?
There's six.
Yeah, six, yeah.
Six.
Yeah.
Declare the motion
Defeated.
defeated. I don't think I've ever said that before. Wow.
We have another funding source, so thank you for doing
Yep.
the research. We'll get it ordered.
Yeah, thank you.
That's perfect. I mean, you have the quote, you have the
We'll
item.
order it.
It's just a matter of going in front of
Right,
that
you
capital
know.
campaign.
Yeah, we'll get it done. They need it.
Okay, thanks for that. Next on the agenda is the walkabout. Did we have a walkabout this month?
We did. Chris is obviously not here, so I went to the library yesterday actually, and I didn't send the pictures out. It's so sorry about that, but there's not really a need to look at the pictures. There was 4 things that I found. None of these are that concerning, I don't think. One was, yeah, they're kind of like, a lot of them are related to existing issues. So one was the gutters and stuff. Tom, you mentioned that the town was looking at it. I did notice that the roof, and again, I think I've seen this before, so it's not really new, but near the book return, I think the way the side of the building is with the little roof there, I think water's going around the gutter, or maybe that's also clogged up. But I would just add to make sure that they look at that, because there's also, you can see the mulch is getting hit from like splash over or whatever from that. So there was that. The upstairs carpet, I don't know if we had mentioned this before, but the upstairs carpet where like the study areas are, the open area in the main stacks area, overlooking the back side of the building, that probably could use a cleaning at some point. Looks like some things have been spilled. So yeah, if you're calling the carpet cleaner, send them up there too. The reading room clock, this one might be for you, Doug, because I was speaking with one of the librarians and they mentioned that you had potentially
The
Change-
historic reading room
the
clock?
historic reading room, the Wheelock reading room.
The Wheelock reading
the
room.
clock is, I think it's out of batteries right now or something. So they had mentioned you had possibly repaired it before.
I did, yes.
So is that the Willard House clock
No.
museum?
No, it's the one on the wall.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the.
The one that we cleaned.
This is this one.
Doug cleaned it and made it
Oh,
look
okay,
nice.
gotcha.
It's one directly below the Wheelock reading room plaque
Placard.
sign. Yeah. And then the last thing, well, second to last thing, I guess, was the windows in the historic reading room. I was just looking at them. One of the storm windows is cracked, and they do look a little weird. I can't quite tell from ground level, how they're meant to function as storm windows. Again, like you can see kind of around the edge of it sometimes. So
Right.
Where are those? Like if you're
The-
at where the old circulation desk is.
yes, if you're standing there, just all the windows.
looking at the front door.
It's all the windows.
All the windows, all
They're
the
all
big
old
windows.
windows.
Yeah, and so they're the, I think probably the original windows, and then I think on the inside are like a storm window kind of thing that's been bolted
Right.
on or whatever.
Right.
But it just looks a little odd. And like I said, one of them is cracked, so it's probably just something that we need to have someone go through and assess them. And then there's like some paint looked like it needed some fixing up. The last thing was, again, just so everyone knows, I was there yesterday and I smelled gas outside, so I went, tried to investigate a little bit. Apparently, they're doing construction. The end result was they're doing construction right on the road, outside the library's sidewalk, and so there was, I guess as we mentioned before the meeting, they're repairing the gas line or switching gas lines or whatever it is underneath there, but there was like a pretty active leak. Like it was pretty, I could smell it pretty strong. So I called NSTAR or Eversource, whatever they're called now, and so they came out last night, and I think they were at least temporarily stopping the leak. But then, like you mentioned, Tom, on Friday they're gonna completely switch over to a different gas line. It sounds like so.
And they were there today too. They had closed off the road from South Street. You had to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
around. So.
Well, I just like to take a minute to applaud John for that initiative. Fantastic, above and beyond, for sure.
Well, I
Well
was
done. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I don't know, like with gas, and like
Yeah,
you know,
blow up our library.
and like the I actually wasn't thinking about this at the time, but my daughter's, the BSA troop is actually, they're like doing like this orienteering thing around the common today, and I was like, I don't know if like the whole common's gonna explode if there's like a gas filling up the sewer underneath. I don't know.
Scouts everywhere.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, in the trees, and so yeah, so it was kind of a non-issue, I think, in the end, but it was, yeah, I think it needed to be taken care of. So
Tom's been working on that for a while. I took a picture of you working on it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been
been
out.
ongoing. We're almost there.
Yeah, no, thanks for all those items. So does that stuff get added to like this punch list that someone's tracking?
I can
Who-
send
who
you the
manages
actual list.
Kim's
Kim,
managing that
yeah,
punch list? Okay, great.
with the pictures I took too.
So I have a question, just a high level technical question. Kim, with the meeting materials that you sent to us, and I think it included the punch list. When I try to open it up, it shows up as not documents, but Windows Media Player. So I don't know if anyone else had I think it was the zip file. Anyone else having difficulty opening up the zip file?
No, I unzipped it and
Okay.
It might be like your default like application
Yeah.
associated with zip files on your computer.
Okay.
but I don't think the punch list is included, is it?
No.
No.
Oh,
It's not
Would
included
you
in
like
that
me
list.
to include that going forward?
I know. I
Yeah, I think
I think it'd be
it's,
great to include
it's
that.
beneficial for me to see it, to have that visual. So I was looking for something that wasn't there anyway. So
Okay.
okay.
Okay, I know we're over an hour in and we've got some other items to go, so I'm gonna push on. New business. The first item is the strategic plan from Aaron.
I don't know how many people still have the attachment in front of them, but I can put it up on the screen if you want. So I know I had to dig through the material.
Was it in the content that Kim sent around?
No, I don't believe so, because it was part of like last.
Yeah, okay.
How far does this go? So let's
Excuse me.
Bless you.
swivel.
Which,
So,
which
don't
one
know.
are you?
who knows?
Start pressing buttons, maybe.
Secretary?
I printed
let's
it
go with that one.
out last month. My paper junk.
So duplicate is on, so I'm broadcasting to something.
There you go.
Of course, now it just went dark on me. There we go.
Oh.
So, I don't need to rehash kind of what Kerry went over at the last meeting. Those are in the meeting minutes. But, so I didn't even know that this was possible for a strategic plan, right? This is certainly the gold standard, right? We didn't really set a budget for this, nor did I know what it cost the last time we did this. But when I had talked to our previous director about the process, for some reason I had this number $1,500 in my brain, right? And it's just like a one-time engagement. So you're shaking your head no. Do you think it's generally
It's
more
more
than that?
expensive,
I
but
thought I thought we previously appropriated up to 3,000. Wasn't it about a year ago?
I just thought
This?
these whole things, I think this whole thing is not cheap.
Okay, well, this isn't, but so
The
th-
whole-
so this company came highly recommended from another library. I forget which one, and they said, you know, we use them all the time. They're fantastic, right? So perhaps this is what libraries are paying for this sort of a service, right? You know, it comes out to about $32,000, right?
32.
$32,000, which is you know, about $4,500 of travel expenses for the people who were coming out. I think it's 2 visits is what they had said. So, you know, this like reading mode isn't working very well.
But you did say you don't have to do everything. You could pick and choose.
Right. So this is everything, you know, and she did say that. I think this will come back in just a moment, but I don't know what we would pick and choose. Right. We'd have to really kind of take this offline with a subcommittee and figure out, you know, what we want. And I don't think any one of us knows exactly what we want. They presented it to us, you know. So at this point, I think we need to determine, because she said that she is able to have engagements anytime after April, right? And now April is right around the corner. So do we want to continue to pursue this with this company, you know, based on what they've presented to us, or do we want to go out and source other vendors at this time? I feel like I'm not ready to put my stamp on this as it is, or even like a combination of what we feel what we want, because really what and maybe Dana or Carrie, you can speak to this about the last time, you know, is it 3 engagements, you know, and producing the report, right, at the end of the engagement, right? Like, can we pare this down to exactly what we want? And is that what we want, or do we want more than that? I think she has some really kind of great value add services, right? And certainly, you know, when Carrie and I were discussing, and after we saw the presentation, again, I don't know why I'm still presenting a black screen, but you know, we felt that having a facilitator, which is really what she is,
Yeah.
you know, and her company is a facilitator for this process, and we love the value of having a facilitator. And certainly, I know that Tom, you've had some value in having a facilitator come to the library as well during some of the staff development. I think you mentioned that. So, you know, maybe that's what we want to do, not in this engagement, or maybe we do, but maybe we do, you know, some sort of facilitator engagement. This, to me, is we need to do this so that we can apply for grants, right?
Well, that was the kind of the traditional approach that we had in the past. I think is that, you know, like you need to do this in order, like it was kind of like an ends to the mean. But what I really liked about what her approach is that you're doing this, but then you're actually using it as a tool to help, you know, manage and, you know, facilitate change for the library. So that's what I liked about it. But it is, you know, it is a big investment. Like that's the.
Well, is this something Tom should be also involved with too? Because this
Definitely.
is
Yeah.
well, it's a big. I mean, is this something that it's a big expenditure, but it seems to me in the past I thought we had. Yeah, I think that's why we did them,
had to
because
do
we
it.
had to do that if you wanted to get any grants. But are we getting? I guess we have to. Should we think about the value of this? Do we need this to this extent?
Correct. And that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think it might take us a little. I think we probably have to discuss it a bit and review it.
Yeah.
I'd like
Sure.
Tom's opinion on it too. I don't. What are other libraries done? Like we just like another one would be the Shrewsbury Public Library, because they just or the the Shrewsbury just redid their library, right? So they're sort of it's a little bit their
Little ahead of
library's
us.
older than ours,
Yeah.
but I mean how much do we have to invest at this point in time? We just had a library rebuilt. we already accepted our grant. Are we gonna get any more grant monies?
Yeah, I mean, would we have a funding source for this, or would it be state aid, right? You know,
We'd have
this,
to- Yeah,
this would really expend a significant portion of
Yeah.
state aid at
Yeah.
this cost, right?
Yep.
But maybe we have an alternate funding source where we do see a lot of value in this and we want to. Roger.
Yeah, Roger?
Yeah, where did this, particular vendor come from? Was it through MBLC, ALA, MLA? How did this particular vendor land upon us, in our laps versus any other vendors, and where are they sited?
This came as a recommendation from another library. When I reached out to the trustee listserv, you know, we have that resource to
Okay.
us, available to us, and we asked, you know, facilitators, and they came highly recommended with some recommendations from other libraries in the area.
Did we get any other recommendations other than that vendor?
No, because this one seemed, we didn't know what we were gonna get. You know, so this is the first one we talked to.
okay,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
Okay,
First person we talked to.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm presenting
okay.
to you what she presented to us, because we need to make a decision either if we wanna get another quote, right? And I don't wanna string this person along, cause she's looking to set up work for her consulting firm, you know, and we may miss an opportunity if we feel that this is the right fit for us.
and where are they located again?
Illinois.
Yeah.
All right, and,
Well-
all right, and here's my
Wait,
thought.
she's in Illinois?
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
wow, I
so
didn't
that's
realize.
part of the
Okay.
expense. Like Aaron mentioned, the 4,500 of travel expenses because they are not local. So we would have to pay the expenses for them to come to our library. So
And-
that's part of that cost.
And I think of, the crude analogy of, our locks in using Puritan versus this consultant that's far away that charges $1,000 a visit, and I'm wondering how much of that is really, you know, there's the value, and then there's the travel stuff, and not to say that, not to dismiss this particular vendor, but I'm saying that all things being equal, it would be interesting to see how much of that 32 is travel, and wouldn't it be
is.
nice?
It's right
You
there
said-
at the
It's
bottom.
right there.
It's
It's
all,
right
it's on the
there.
proposal.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
I guess I would prefer seeing if there's other vendors that do come, recommended, and see what
Go ahead.
what the typical pricing is, and then how much of that is travel versus not. And the reason I mention that is that if extra contractually these people need to come back, and then we're using an Illinois vendor versus, let's say, a Mass vendor, to do.
It's,
I get what you're saying, but I think that's kind of
It's not-
out of the
yeah.
scope of what this
All
is.
right.
She's
Yeah.
she's
Yeah,
she's,
yeah.
she's
It's-
giving us a quote. We pay it.
Right.
She's got to come back. It's on her own expense.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I
mean,
but
I
I don't
agree.
think that's going to be the case.
I mean, I agree, it would be nice to have a comparator, because if another one came in at the same price, then we know that's just what the market
Yeah.
Right.
is pulling in.
I think we
would
need
like
to look
see-
at several of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were supposed to do this a while ago, right?
Yeah,
I
we're-
remember
we're
doing
late.
this in the past.
So I'm going to just put this out there.
Yeah.
The previous director offers these sort of services for other libraries.
Okay.
I don't know if she'd be willing to do one for us, and I don't think that would be maybe appropriate, right, for where we are, right,
Yeah.
to have somebody who used to be employed for us and do an assessment. But again, that was the service fee of about $1,500 that where I got this from, because she said that's what I go out and I charge to do these for people, right? So think of it this way, right? This is 30 grand, okay? And we say, yes, we want this. You gotta do it again in 5 more years, right? So we're gonna have to budget for this. Every 5 years, we're gonna have to do this. So either we right size this vendor and use them going forward, right? And it'd be maybe a $15,000 engagement, including travel, right? But we're gonna have to do it again in another 5 years, right? So, I love their approach, and I'm not gonna say any more on that, but because it's all right here in front of you, it's fantastic, and I would love to have this for our library. But I agree with Doug. I think we need another comparison, right?
I'm wondering, maybe as a follow-up question, it's a good point about if we have to do it again in 5 years.
Yeah.
If we went with them, would it, in
Yeah.
5 years, because it's so extensive, would it be less money in 5 years to kind of do a refresher?
Yeah.
Because like if you look at like that phase one learn,
Yep.
like that's a significant part of the cost, and then the next two phases. So if it's coming back in 5 years, I wouldn't I would expect it should be a lot less than this kind of extensive exercise.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they don't have to relearn everything because they've been involved with the previous one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me
So
go
I
back, let me go talk to her, right? And I'll say this is the feedback that I got from the board. We're wondering if first of all, we can tell her what we want. Again, I don't want to pick and choose and pick this apart, but we can say, really, this is what we're looking for. Can you design a solution for X, right? So I think between you and I, Carrie, you know what we did in the past, and you and I can come up with a.
Yeah. Okay.
Did we reach out to the previous
I think
person
we-
we worked with?
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
I don't understand why we don't just get one or two other proposals from local people within the state of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And
At
it's
least
worked.
one, at
They
least
were
right.
recommended because people in Massachusetts use this vendor.
Use this person, yeah.
Okay.
So
still
I don't-
see the
I
I
don't-
wasn't going to Illinois
This
on
is-
purpose.
I don't
No,
think
no,
we're
no, I know
discounting
that.
the
There's a
quality
single
of this one, yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that. I just think that, I'm surprised that it's this much money, that's all.
Agree.
I mean, wasn't thinking, and I don't know,
Yep.
I thought that how many times, they'll come and,
So
she
were
helps
workshops.
select
They
people?
were like, I mean, it was pretty.
Okay.
The last time we had at least two workshops, right, where they came in and
Yeah.
they ran it. We invited some community members in.
I mean, to me, so
This
how
is
many
almost more
times are
like
they
a
gonna be
retreat
coming
type
here?
of
Are they
workshop,
learning
like
a lot about our library? Is that what,
Yes, this is a very. I mean, this is like a really nice.
did Tom have a chance to review this?
No.
Do you mind doing that?
Sure. Could you send this to me?
I would like to have his opinion.
That's fine. Yeah.
That's kind of what I was going to suggest is have we reviewed the previous strategic plan? I don't know if Tom, have you reviewed the previous strategic plan or a group of us?
I have
through-
looked. Yes, I have looked
Yeah.
at this previous.
So if we looked at that old
Yeah, I'd like
previous,
to look at
now some of it's not going to be relevant now, but
Right.
it was written with a new building in mind.
Right.
So there might be a lot of stuff in the last strategic plan that we checked off, but there might be some stuff that makes sense to continue. It seems like it'd be worth doing a little bit of that as well.
Do you have that strategic plan from the previous one?
I'm
Right
sure we
on
can
the
find
website.
it.
Yeah, we
It
have
should be
it.
on the
Yeah,
website.
it's-
yeah.
It's connected to the website.
Okay.
It's available.
Mr. Chair, just for Tom to I'm looking at page 17 and 18 of the proposal, and they do have references. And then there were 4 references, one of which is Mass. And then on 18, I'm seeing that most of these libraries are in the Midwest, Michigan, and Illinois, and there is just one Massachusetts library listed, Pollard Memorial in Lowell.
Yeah.
So I think, considering the lack of mass libraries listed among their clients, I would like to see, or maybe research a couple of other.
Yeah, it's a great point. Thank you for pointing that out. Yep.
But I really do appreciate all the work you've done on that in finding this particular vendor. But this proposal, I think is fantastic, but I'd like to see a couple more.
Okay. What is our time frame for getting a strategic plan done? Right. I think that's the real.
I think
Yeah,
we
that's a
probably.
question for
question.
Tom, right?
'Cause I can
Tom's even-
I can keep researching this for another year. Right.
I mean, I would assume like I feel like isn't there like a normal process of usually like you find you get 3 quotes.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? So maybe find at least one more from Mass and maybe a second one if it's not too much work, and then we can
No,
compare them.
Are you talking
to
about
this one.
3 then?
Yeah.
He already has this quote.
Yeah, so 2. So 2 more.
At least one more. I mean, I can
Yeah.
dig up the person we worked with last time. I'm sure I have that in my notes somewhere. And then I don't know, Tom, have you had any experience with strategic plans at your previous library?
In Springfield, I did. I was involved in putting together a strategic plan there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can
And-
reach out to them and see who they work with.
Yeah.
Are you shocked by the sticker price on this one?
I'm always shocked by this.
Yeah, I thought that was a lot.
Yeah.
So-
That's a lot. That's more than I was expecting. Yeah.
I mean, the way I'm looking at that is that this is $32,000. I think that was like the total price, right, Aaron? Around $32,000, and that's over 5 years. And in theory, that's going to dictate how we use the library budget, including state aid and any other, gifts and funds that we have, right? So that's probably, if you do the math in terms of like what our budget is from the town, the state aid budget and other sources, that's probably a very, very small percentage. Like if you think about what you would pay a financial advisor to manage your money and tell you how to invest that, it's usually a couple percent.
Yeah, but she's giving
So-
us, but this is for us to review. We don't,
It's not executing.
it's
it.
not executing like
But-
what it's like a
Right.
plan, and my understanding is that there's a lot, we have to talk to people from the community at large who are gonna come, and we're gonna ask them lots of questions. They're supposed to help us dictate, really help us manage what the kind of library we want in the next several years. So it's, I don't think that, I don't know how much that relates. I mean, I think we just need to look at other ones and see what we've done in the past and what's an average cost. I mean, how many times are they coming here? I mean, there'll be one or two meetings, but they're doing a lot of research.
It's all detailed in
It's
the
detailed
plan,
in
so
there,
you
Okay,
can.
it just
we don't need to
it just
discuss
sounds
that.
like a lot of money.
So I think the action item would be then just to have Aaron and his group. I don't know if it sounds like Gary's
Just
helping.
carry
you.
now, yeah.
Gary and Aaron, to look into at least a second quote, preferably by someone that's here in Massachusetts.
Yep.
And I'll look up the name of the one that we used last
It
time.
looks like it was Fast Forward Libraries LLC.
Yeah.
Wait, last time?
Oh, sorry, that's her, okay,
That's her.
so,
Yeah.
so this
Okay.
was,
It's a
oh, okay,
3-year
yeah, this is, so, okay, sorry, yeah.
But certainly, thank you for the legwork. I mean, it's something that's really important for this group to do in collaboration with Tom and the library staff. So, any other final questions on that? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is library hours. Also, Aaron.
Yep. So, I think, this was tabled last time because I wasn't present. Oh, look at you. You just popped over. Same spot. All right. So, I think the action item was to, determine if we could have late hours one night of the week, right? And, we don't have to rehash the discussion that we had, 2 months ago, but certainly, when you change something like library hours and then want to change it back, it causes a lot of chaos and turmoil. And I'm not saying that we should change the library hours back because they seem to be working for a good portion of the population. But working adults, it's very hard. And the feedback I've gotten from the community and in my own usage patterns is a preference is late hours. Especially with meeting rooms. So, that said, Tom, do you have an update on feasibility of late hours?
I have discussed this with staff, and I've discussed this with the finance department at the town as well.
Okay.
And I don't see how we add extra hours in, because it would be a real strain on the staff.
So I'm sorry, I'm not asking for extra hours. So I'm asking for
Shift. Yeah.
a shift in one day, the same hours we had before, right? So adding hours certainly. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. I just want to clarify.
So
Right, yeah,
one
so
day
instead
a
of-
week be open 10 to 9 instead of 9 to 8. Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not asking to go back to the old hours, but at least to have one night like a bank would have, where they have late hours for people who are more night owls. Because we don't really have that anymore at the library.
What are the hours now? What was the big difference?
It's
We
9 to
moved-
8 right
Yeah,
now.
we moved it, we
9
used
to
to
8
open
Monday
at
through
10,
Thursday.
now it's 9, yeah.
But then on Friday it's closed at 6, right?
9 to
And-
6 and 9 to 2 on Saturday.
Yeah, so,
Right.
so it's shorter on
It is hard for people that don't have it. Yeah,
It was hard to meet at the library And
It's
I've
very
gotten
hard now.
feedback from the community.
Yeah.
It's hard for them to meet at the library.
It
Use
is.
the meeting rooms after dinner. With, basically you have to end your meeting at 7:30.
Well, they come close it at 8, right?
I remember we had this vote and it was,
You
It's
can only
hard.
book a meeting room till 7:30.
and I remember the conversation last year and you had expressed your own personal experience and so, I'll add to that, I think that, I mean, I've heard community members express the same, sentiment, but also to add to that, the, how quickly that window of time, the 10 to 2 on Saturdays, 9 to 2 or 10 to 2?
9
9
to
to
2.
2.
9 to 2. That on the back end, the 2 o'clock seems to fly by. And that I've heard a sort of wish list of, wouldn't it be nice to have it to 4? Not 5, but, or even 3. Just that extra 1 or 2 hours that, people are running errands and all of a sudden they realize the library's already closed. And 2 o'clock happens very quickly for a lot of people, including myself on a Saturday. And so, I've received that weekend feedback too. The super wish list Sunday, but that's a discussion for another day. But sometimes we're compared to like Shrewsbury and other libraries nearby. But that Saturday piece at 2, I'll add to your comments about having that one night extra.
Yeah.
Can we, I can't remember if we mentioned this 2 months ago, but can we get like door counter, well, 2 things. One is like a door counter just to try to get a,
So we've done that, right?
I've done
And
that.
we've already looked at late hours, right? And they don't have many clicks
Yeah.
after after 8 o'clock, right? So I'm not saying that we do it just based on the numbers.
right.
Right,
Right.
right.
That's all I'm saying. So
And then secondly would be, do we get a lot of requests at the library? Like, do you actually hear patrons requesting either later Saturday or later one night a week? I mean, they might not be
They're
commenting.
not. They're certainly not expressing it to us or the staff,
Okay.
to me or staff. We're not hearing it, and we don't see it late at night. So when we're closing up at 8, it's not like we have a lot of people who are there who are wishing. We're saying, "Oh, I can't believe you're closing already."
Yeah.
We're not. We're not. I mean, when it comes to 8 o'clock, we're emptying out.
Yeah. The question is, are people are emptying out because they can't stay till 9 because they
Yeah.
couldn't have a 7:30
Well,
meeting or, whatever, but
Right.
you'll never
But
know that.
You don't know, but
Yeah, I mean, we used to be a lot there till 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we definitely were there. Sorry.
So,
Dana?
Aaron, what you're thinking about is, are we thinking about the people who want to have meetings later than 8, that want to have a meeting that starts at 7 and they end at 9:15? Is that one of the main concerns?
it's certainly meeting rooms, right?
Yeah. Because what I'm thinking is what we're, then I guess the hard thing is how do we determine what day would work for those people?
I understand.
Maybe we should
now you
just-
think about people's meeting schedules, but really, it's not always about meeting schedules.
Okay.
It's being able to go somewhere in the evening and study,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I used to, I'm only talking personal experience. I used to study at the library a lot.
Yeah.
My kids were in scout meetings, go to the library, you sit there, kill a couple hours at the library, using the library services, and then go and, their meeting gets out at 8:30, right? So like, basically, it's not even worth going to the library,
Yeah, no, I understand. I was just
So-
trying to get a
So
handle on it.
and I don't know if we go talk to more of the community about,
That would be one option, is do a survey or do something that
Right.
we could collect some community feedback.
It has to be a survey that, it would be good to have one that is really authentic. I just wonder if we try something, if that would be a good idea to see what works.
Yeah,
Is
I would
most
like
of-
to shift one of the days, hours to do,
So-
instead of a 9 to 8, a 10 to 9, and see how that works.
So just, I guess, keeping in mind, like, we do have, like, the union agreement too. I know, like, we do set hours, but this, this change does have a large impact on the staff, and I mean, believe me, I wish it could be open all the time.
Yeah, so
we have a
th-
billion
this is
staff,
this is
but-
you brought up a great point, Carrie. And the point is, like, we had these hours before, and we had the union,
I know.
and we changed the hours, and now we can't change them back because the union says we can't change them back. So
I don't know if that's
it's
the case.
I
Do
know
we
that's
know
not the
that?
case. I'm being ridiculous here, a
Okay.
little bit ridiculous.
Okay.
But
I see. I
but
got
my,
it.
my point is, like, we're the board of trustees, and if nobody here agrees with me that we want to change the hours, then we don't do it. I'm just proposing, and I haven't even made a motion yet because I'm not ready to, because I really just wanted that feedback from Tom, and I think you were looking at it with the lens of we want to add hours to the library, and that wasn't my intention. Anyways.
I have
I
a
mean,
question.
I'm a kind of a data person, so I would think, I mean, I like the idea of offering it to expand the ability of the community to use the library. I would expect we'd have more people using it at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
than we would from 8 to 9 p.m.
Oh, of
But-
course. You are
But that does,
100% right.
yeah.
What we're.
I know,
what
we're just
Aaron's-
talking about one day. No, I know.
I know, he's trying to just say there are some people that would really
Right.
like to have it open later. Cause one of the issues
People on
is,
this board would love to have this.
Yeah,
that
you would like
later
it. I
hours,
mean,
but we're speaking for the community. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be selfish.
yeah, I would agree. I think
you
there's
know,
other
but
people
I
that
think
would
that's
like it.
one of the major reasons that I'm not at the library anymore because I can. And Saturday's a fantastic point too, right? We open early on Saturday, 9 to 2, and by the time you're ready to go to the library, it's you're being shuffled out.
Right.
At
So-
1:30, 1:45.
Right.
I have a
Yeah.
question. One of the reasons why we went to 9, that's something that the staff really prefers that because they don't have to work late at night and we felt there wasn't enough.
Well, we had data. We had 300 respondents, and 150 people said they wanted earlier hours.
Okay, that's
Right.
only 50%.
Right.
It's a lot.
It is a lot, but I wonder, okay.
I know one of the challenges that Tom has.
50-50?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not, it's like, that's what happened.
I think that's,
That's not a lot. It's,
Well,
it's
50-50.
Yeah, 50% of people
well,
want it.
I guess
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right. I was just
You know,
thinking of, that's a lot of respondents, so like getting a,
300, sure.
getting a survey
Yeah.
with,
But one of the other considerations, so when we made the adjustment, like we were very short staffed, cause remember we had those
There was
shorter
a
hours.
lot of I'm sorry. There's a lot of emotion surrounding that decision too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I just feel like we didn't give it enough thought.
But also obviously we would like to expand, for the community, that's the benefit, but it's, the staff was really having a hard time finding people to work those Saturday afternoons and those, later nights
Yeah,
on Friday.
It's hard to staff.
So
those
that,
hours,
so
sure.
that's, so we have to kind of think about if we do expand that, like,
It's not
how we,
expanding it really.
I'm sorry?
He's talking
shifting.
about shifting.
Yep.
We actually had somebody that wanted to work, there were some people that wanted to work on Saturdays.
That
mean,
still are,
I know.
employed now?
speak up, Tom.
Yeah,
This is the time.
Yeah, I think you need to look at why you initially made the change, and I think that your data was correct in assessing that that the hours that you landed on are the right hours. We are very busy in the mornings. We have people waiting to get in the door at 9 o'clock. And come 8 o'clock, like I say, we're outnumbering the patrons by library staff. So I don't personally see the need for it. I understand that you may have personal experiences of having wanted to use a room and weren't able to, but I don't think that's enough to make this shift. And the one element that I'm not hearing enough of here is that it's a hardship on the staff. Even if it's just one day, it's going to be a hardship on the staff to readjust to this. And I also think that a one day a week where it's a different schedule, invariably we're going to have patrons who show up at 9 o'clock and we're not opening until 10, and they're going to be upset about that as well. So I don't see the benefits of what we would gain based upon balanced by what we would be disrupting, that it would be beneficial to us. And again, I want to make sure that the staff is considered strenuously in this. Sure, it's what it was worked before. You know, this may have been the hours before, but the hours before we also had a hard time getting staff. And you know, I'm not. We can make you can make a correlation if you want, but this is the schedule that we have a good solid staff that I don't want to lose any of them.
I mean, we did, before we changed the hours, we did have a lot of times where they had to close, early, like on Saturdays, because we didn't have staffing
Yep.
too. Like that was a problem.
Minimum staffing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's really a problem now. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Don't feel like that's really happened.
We're tight.
Yeah.
We're fully staffed, but that doesn't mean we are well staffed. That doesn't mean that we're even potentially adequately staffed, because there are times when we are scrounging. You know, if somebody's on vacation and somebody calls out sick, we're getting close.
I mean, we're fully staffed based on what the town is kind of budgeted.
The
for
amount
us,
of
right?
positions that we have
Yeah.
budgeted, we are fully staffed.
Right.
Right.
But you've requested new staff in your budget.
Yes.
Okay.
So, thank you. And I realize we can't really do this without your support, on behalf of the staff. So really a lot of this is driven by, what's under your purview at the library, right? And we don't like to be dictators, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. And I'm willing to drop this if plenty of people feel that the data shows that a 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. It was frustrating, and I'm not always just speaking from my experience. John and I used to meet at the library often too, and didn't mean to throw you out there.
No.
But, we even tried to meet as a committee at the library too, and we were being shuffled out, and it was very, very difficult. And why did we even? I'm not saying why do we have these meeting rooms, because they're tutoring rooms, and they do get a ton of use.
Yeah.
But I just feel stuck because we cannot go back. And the impression I was getting before was, let's try it. And I'm like, cool, yeah, I'm on board with trying it. But now I feel like we're getting so much pushback from, we're getting pushback, period, when we want to try something different. And that's what's really frustrating. Not that I'd love to visit the library after 8 o'clock. I mean, that's really what this is about, and allowing other people to use it after hours. But my usage has certainly dropped a lot since these hours changed.
I think that's fair. Maybe we can wait to see what happens with the funding requests that Tom put in, because if we don't get those additional positions, then that definitely would impact like the flexibility of the staff. If we do get those positions, maybe that opens something up, right?
Potentially.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the next step should be, if we should just keep this on the table for next month. Because I do think, what I would love to see is just getting funding and getting an extra hour where we can stay open late. We're still opening at the same time. I know it's going to do staff changes, but if we can get extra funding to fund that extra hour.
Yeah, I think you're going to find that nobody's going to want to work that extra hour at night. I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely what I'm hearing, and that's kind of heartbreaking. But
Yeah, that's,
Other libraries are open to 9.
I don't know.
Yeah, like
Shrewsbury's open till 9.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think there's a danger in looking at other towns and saying, oh, but so-and-so does this, because you can just as easily say, yeah, but Upton is closed on Mondays. And we're not going to say, well, maybe we should be closed on Mondays because another town is doing that.
No.
And so I think there's a danger in looking at what other towns are doing that are not comparable to what we are. We're not Shrewsbury. So
I know that we're not.
Yeah,
I was just
so-
interested to knowing that.
But if
And we're
we-
not Upton, because Upton their libraries is part of the is the senior center.
Right.
So we're totally.
So we're not even
And
talking
we
about
build our
hours.
libraries
Right.
around
I know
that.
you're talking. I know you're talking about shifting.
It's a staff.
I know.
Yeah.
challenge.
It is.
That's what we're talking about here.
I know. I understand. I also know about Sundays. Sundays is completely a separate day, and if it's ever done, it's usually with different staff. And some libraries and some communities have business people.
Right, it's funded differently too.
Through
Right.
businesses. So it's a completely different
that would be
staff. You can't
fantastic.
expect them to work on a Sunday.
But-
Well, just in the interest of moving along, because we do have
Yeah.
another important agenda item,
Yep.
I would say that we just continue like all the individuals continue thinking about what it means. We can have another conversation with Tom offline in between the next meeting
Yeah, that sounds.
and just consider it in the future. I don't mean to just kind of push it back, Aaron, but
No.
I don't.
Can I just make one other point? So, if we do get additional funding, like there's some people who like working earlier hours, and then there's people who enjoy working later hours. So if we do have the opportunity in the future, like maybe there might be some staff that would really prefer to work the later hours, and then we can offer that. So, so just just to kind of keep it open mind, because we have what we have right now, but in the future, like there could be possibilities there.
Yeah.
Because I would love
Yeah.
to see it open till 9 again, but I don't want to
Yeah.
force it on the
Yeah.
staff,
And
so.
how many staff would we need to keep it open, right? You need a lot of staff.
Slightly.
Right, you
Keep
need
it
a lot.
open
That's
until
the
9.
challenge.
Might
yeah.
be like
Right.
5 or 10, I don't know.
Right. To have fully staffed.
If,
library.
but maybe you have, not open all the way, like have the children's room and the
Yeah.
teens room closed or something,
Yeah.
so.
Right, that's
Yeah,
I'm-
because
I'm
maybe the
open
kids
to
are
ideas.
asleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, so in the interest of time, let's move on to the next item. So the director goals, I'm sorry I wasn't here last month. I know John introduced this, but like the strategic plan, right, a very important responsibility of this board is to define and work with the director for the strategic plan, but it's also to define the director goal, the goals of the library, including working with the director on what his goals are, but also the trustees might have their own set of goals. So just, and these goals are not, there's two things I'd like to say is the goals, it doesn't imply that things are not getting done, that Tom's not doing something. These are just things that the board feels is important, for him to continue or to do if he's not doing them. So it doesn't imply anything about his active performance or goals. What was the second thing I was going to say? And of course, another important responsibility of the board is to do the evaluation of the director. And it's really hard to evaluate him on his annual anniversary is if we didn't have any defined goals that we can kind of, evaluate him on. So I think personally, I think it's important to get a couple goals in for this 3-month period because his anniversary comes up in June. And then obviously that'll be his first full year starting, well, it'll be a second full year, but hopefully we're done with a lot of these maintenance issues, the facilities management, which he's been really focusing on so much in his first many months, that we can really start working on those goals and strategic plan that, grows the library and the things that he's looking forward to doing for the next year. So I distributed, so Chris, John, and I met, and what we tried to do was just come up with a couple things that we felt were important, based on what the roles and responsibilities are of the director, some feedback we got from the staff, and just things that Tom's already doing, but maybe that we want to emphasize a little bit more. I don't know if we need to go through them in this meeting. We haven't really done this in a long time, so we don't have a lot of experience doing this with a new library director.
I think these are
And-
great. I mean, I'm on board. I think this accurately reflects what I would expect.
Yeah, I mean, I can just kind of go through them at a high level, just like the 1, 2, 3. Right, a key responsibility of the library director is oversight and charge of the library as a whole. So this is, managing the facility. It's defining the strategic plan. It's working with the budget the annual budget. It's dealing with community relations. It's dealing with staff development and staff career growth, and then obviously the facilities management. So, all right, there's a lot of responsibilities in the library director role. And then we just identified, I mean, there were 5, but there's a lot of overlap in those 5, but it's all around, I would say meeting, well, that's the second one actually. Becoming familiar, right? He's been there for a year, but just becoming familiar with the workings of the library, the department interactions between departments within the department. So a lot of it's, and sorry, also library departments, but also other town departments. He's got to work a lot with DPW and with the town administrator. So a lot of these are just around meetings, right? Making sure he's meeting with the town administrator or assistant town administrator on a somewhat regular basis, the DPW. He's working with the staff on policies and obviously getting to know the staff and communicating both what he's been doing with the library, what he's doing. He's already doing this in his weekly updates, but just continuing that.
Right.
So around communication. So that was kind of the ownership piece. The second one was really around staff. And again, many of these he's already doing, but having monthly staff meetings, getting that kind of as a normal routine. Individual staff meetings, I know you're already working with the department heads, but just making sure that he's doing that on a regular basis. We actually added one-on-one meetings with the entire staff. So like once a year, he's going to meet have the opportunity to interact with each individual staff. He's already doing that, by walking around the library, but actually kind of a one-on-one in his office, getting to know people and what their little individual career growth is and stuff. And then the third item was around stewardship of the physical space, so facilities management. He's definitely been doing that a lot. The last 9 months it's been, but that's obviously one of his key responsibilities.
It's been like what, 48% almost?
I would say more.
It's probably been more.
I would say more.
Like 50, 52, 53.
50%, which we've established is a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
I agree.
Yeah. It's a lot. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm aware of this much of it, and it's a lot of work that I'm aware of. But he's doing that every day. I mean, you think about the children's room and dealing with that. I mean, that's past us now. But now there's all these HVAC, so it's got to be at least half his stuff.
So,
Yes, Aaron.
thank you for putting this together. So, this is March through July 2025. So, first of all, is that a goal for the next 3-4 months, or what is that? So
The
goal's March.
That was the goal, would be for the next 3 months. Now, obviously, having
March is over.
yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. So now it's been April, but obviously, he's only going to have one monthly staff meeting or 2 monthly staff meetings. He's not going to meet with all the individual staff one-on-one. So,
Yeah. So
it's just getting started on these.
So more just so a lot of I think what you mentioned is just kind of responsibilities, but like a goal, I would say like over the next year, it has to be like measurable. How do we measure these things? And I'd almost like to see because this is good and I think it's a nice draft, but we could even pare it down quite a bit and kind of take out some of the things that it's part of his job, right? It's take the things that are kind of a part of his job. Certainly if he's, not doing those things are part of his job, that's one thing.
Yep.
That's more responsibilities, but like goals, stuff that we'd like to see Tom do and work towards and meet, right?
Yeah, and we tried to make the majority of them measurable, right? Like
Yep.
the monthly meetings, right? Or monthly report. He needs to send out the monthly report.
Yeah, but I think this
So
is the
there
job
are a number,
description, though,
but
isn't
some
it?
of them are kind of
You could go over you could make it like the growth of the library itself, but he has to be able to focus on this versus doing a lot of the other stuff he's been doing, the
I'm not sure what
facilities
you
thing.
mean.
Well, you could say you want a growth in circulation, a growth in it, in new library cards. I mean, it's already happening. I mean, he's doing that already, but
Yeah.
I don't know how else.
So-
I'm not sure how else you could
Yeah,
quantify it.
So one example is, offer quarterly
Programs.
training sessions. You can say, develop and execute 4 training sessions, over the next, 6 to 8 months or whatever time frame
Right.
you want to give it.
Yep.
Right. So I think a lot of good meat is here. So that's my only feedback.
Yep.
You know.
I would also say we have not reviewed this with Tom yet,
Yeah.
so there might be some of these things that
Yeah.
Tom's gonna be like, there's no way that's gonna happen, or yeah, that's great, right?
Yeah.
You might disagree or agree with some of them, so some of them, there's, we're gonna have a little bit of back and forth with Tom.
Yeah.
Okay,
And why is this, I guess, can these be goals for the future?
That's what I
For
was
next
gonna-
year and not this year? Because he doesn't have much time to implement this.
Yeah.
definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, they are,
July,
they're not,
Yeah, yep.
they're not, right, he can have monthly, they're not supposed to all be completed in the next 3 months. These are just goals that he can start working on now. And then there's gonna be some piece of it that's measurable for the next 3 months,
So,
right? He can have one meeting, one quarterly meeting or one monthly staff meeting, but he's not gonna be able to do 12 of them, right? Cause there's only 3 months here.
so could we say that these are his goals, like through like next year, like through June of next year? And then when we come up to his anniversary, it could be kind of a check-in
An
on
adjustment.
how he's doing. 'Cause
Sure.
that's what, in
That's a
my
good idea.
job, we do annual goals, but we have like mid-year check-in and you kind of see like how you're doing. So we could have it be like this one and then maybe halfway through the year and then in June again. Cause it's, it's an odd, time.
Can we,
So sorry, I just wanna, so that is what we were expecting to do in July, right? Because that's his kind of new year.
Yeah.
So this was really just, the
Okay.
goal of this was just to kind of do the holdover for the first half of the year, so that when we have the actual evaluation
Okay, that's
in
fair.
June, we'd have something to go by.
and now he started at the beginning of June?
Correct.
So when would you be doing your evaluation, in July? So you're saying
Probably in July.
you'd
I
have
mean, it's just gonna
April,
take a
May,
couple
and
weeks.
June, 3 months to implement some of this?
To get started on some of these, yeah. Again, right, it's just something,
So we have to agree with, so in that interim, we have to make sure that he agrees with all of this. And then the clock will start with him looking at, trying to do some of this before July, I guess. I was just trying to understand it.
I mean, that's up to the board, it's not up to
Okay.
me, right?
Yeah, but that's what this is
I,
about.
I honestly don't think there's gonna be any issue with any of these, right? I mean, that's, because like you said, a lot of these are general roles and responsibilities anyways. I mean, unless he disagrees with some of them.
I feel like what I'm hearing is that we should just like, starting from the time we get the chance to review it with Tom, just set it as from the year, a yearly goal. You know what I mean? And then, like you said, use the upcoming June or July meeting with Tom as a check-in, just to make sure things are going well on that in that respect. And then, so
He's had time to implement it, that's only a couple months, okay.
Well, and these aren't including the goals that, Tom thinks are really important either, right? So
Right,
those,
you
I
may
feel
come
like
back
those
with-
you're gonna be developing for the next couple months, and
Right.
then when we
Okay.
do the check-in in June or July, that's when we can kind of develop the full more typical goals.
and I don't think there's any reason we wouldn't be able to change these too.
Definitely not, yeah.
So yeah, when as we meet and as things change, and hopefully, like we talked about, hopefully the HVAC issues eventually get resolved, and we can kind of remove that from this document and maybe replace it with something else that makes more sense.
Can you repeat that?
I don't understand, you mean like if he doesn't have to do all this tutorship, he's spending like over 50% of his time right now, number 3.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So if the third kind of bullet point is just kind of something that no longer requires just 50% or more of his time, and it is such a critical thing like it is at the current time. Let's just say, best case scenario, 6 months from now, all of the like chronic issues we have between the flooding and the water and the HVAC issues, those are all resolved, and then it's more just falls back to typical maintenance things. Then, we could potentially, I would say, revisit number 3 and see if it still makes sense to kind of keep it here. It's not to say that he's going to stop doing those things entirely, but remove it as a focus of his
Oh, you check it
goals.
off, right?
Yeah,
Like-
exactly.
Like a goal, you completed that goal.
Yeah. So I guess what I would propose is, I feel like I heard that a lot of people think that these things make sense so far. So I mean, I'm wondering if we should propose that we just kind of amend it to say, March 2025 to March 2026, as kind of the time frame for the goals. Again, we can revisit it throughout the year, and we can definitely completely reassess the goals in March 2020 or before March 2026, you know, to make sure that these all make sense. And then probably meet with Tom again in the upcoming months as a check-in for the goals.
I guess my thought is like this is a really good starting point. Tom hasn't had a chance to kind of like work together. I think the best kind of goals are ones that are built collaboratively. So if you know, so and I really appreciate the work, and I do really like these, but also like if we could use this and then kind of work together to have really good goals for the start of like Tom's next full year, then we'll have like a really, really excellent goals and have a great tool to use to measure. Because I mean, I think we already, you know, have a good sense of, you know, all the work that Tom's been doing, and you know, and I agree, like a lot of these already, like he's doing a great job on. But maybe you kind of take that approach.
Yeah, great idea.
So, a great idea. We can kind of have these as the initial draft goals.
Yep.
We'll meet with Tom over the next 2 months
Yep.
with the intent of, you know,
Finalizing.
finalizing them in June or July. I
Yep.
guess maybe in June.
Yep.
That
Then
sounds
for the
good.
next
For the next
Yeah, and
calendar year.
then we have a nice full year, and it's one that you know
sounds
that we're all on board with. Is like
He
yeah,
also
this
might
is
have
our
some
plan.
quantitative things, cause he's really into numbers, we know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Doug is-
Everybody likes to check something off
Yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and move on to the next thing.
Okay.
That sounds better to me.
Roger?
And just to add to that, aside from the high level stuff, because this is necessarily in the goals are necessarily in the context of evaluation as well, of whether or not we've ever done or would consider like the self-evaluation piece of this, meaning that as I look at the library director, all the bullet points of the library director job description, and on a self-evaluation basis, even if it's not quantified 1 through 5, almost in the same way that Tom writes the monthly report in like a narrative form, to say, okay, here's where I think I'm, you know, doing all these things. Here's maybe some areas that I'd like to have greater focus on or improve on, or that type of thing. That there's about 20 different bullet points of what the job description is, and if we're going to evaluate Tom on, you know, the performance of these items, whether it's in the short term or long term, I would think that, I mean, we don't know what we don't know, and so I would want to at least hear from Tom how he feels he's fulfilling all of these bullet points. And then the second piece is that I'm not entirely on board with on the American Library Association, that Division United for Libraries has that short takes for trustees evaluating the library director.
Yep.
Even though it's from November of 2014, I don't think it's outdated. It seems like all of this stuff is pertinent, but they kind of dismiss the idea of sort of 360 evaluation.
So this was the document from the MBLC that you're
Right.
referring to.
And so so MBLC uses it, and it's an ALA document, and so they kind of push aside and see the shortcomings of having staff evaluate or provide feedback on the director's performance. I that can sometimes be a free for all with the number of staff, but it would be nice to hear what the managers have to say regarding you know, how this past year has been. Even if all the staff aren't involved, they could certainly provide feedback to the, you know, the managers, and because we're an executive board, and although, each of us has had interactions, and especially the chair being more prominent in the interactions with the director, that's not seeing the day-to-day
We
activities.
we did meet with the
Okay,
department
did with-
heads.
okay,
Yeah.
so you did,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
This
Yeah,
was,
that's
How long, so,
Yeah.
Over the summer.
gosh, maybe,
We've been over
maybe
that.
September timeframe, August, September?
Something like that.
All right.
Yeah, it's like 3 months in.
okay,
But I agree. I mean, at least in my job, I always get 360 feedback, right?
Right.
I have people, my reports evaluate me and send them to my boss, and I do my own self-assessment each year.
right, so.
And I think there's value in that.
Yeah, and so I'd like to see, so aside from the idea of the whole, I appreciate you reminding me that you had done that, and so now, you know, how periodically we wanna do that. You know, I mean, 3 months in is just getting his feet wet, now it's almost a year in, and maybe it might be beneficial to see what their take is on that, but I think the more prominent piece, in my opinion, is the self-eval based on the library director, essential functions, so.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had a director do a self-assessment before.
No.
What about you, Tom? Have you ever done that in your previous roles?
I have, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, in previous positions, yes.
The other thing we haven't really considered is this whole thing we're talking about this, the proposal to have this strategic plan. We haven't really even, there's nothing, since we haven't really created that, we're not talking about that in here, so we should probably have something,
You mean to
On that.
create the plan or to develop goals based on the plan?
the latter.
The latter, yeah. I mean, that obviously would be something like John was saying, like, once we create that plan, then obviously this set of goals will get adjusted based on
Right.
that.
But I mean,
And is he going to be responsible for creating that plan? Is he overseeing that, or is that the trustees?
The strategic plan.
The strategic plan?
I think that's under our purview.
in
Working
here,
with the director,
Working
I
with
would
the director,
think.
of course.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I don't
so
know
that should
if,
be in here too.
but I don't know if we've formally agreed to take that on from Tom, because the third bullet point of the library director position is leads the strategic planning initiative. And so I don't know if we sort of took that over by default, or whether we affirmatively said, you know, or acknowledge that it's the director's responsibility to lead that planning initiative, or we just kind of like took it over from
Where do
him.
you see that?
I think Beth did that in
The
conjunction
the third bullet point
trustees.
under the essential functions of the library director leads.
Oh, you're talking about in the roles and responsibilities.
Yeah,
stuff.
leads the
Yeah.
strategic planning initiative. So if the job description necessarily includes the director taking that lead, and the director may not have focused on this bullet point, we've kind of given the impression that it's our role, when we've specifically now, through a 3-year contract.
Right.
One of these items is that he's to take the lead, not us.
Yeah, I mean, historically, it's been the director that's
Right.
taken the lead, but we've contributed heavily to that,
Right.
right?
Right, and so, just to
Yeah,
put that on the table
yep.
as far as,
Okay, but we also
identifying
have
it.
to think about bandwidth too. I mean, he's
Yeah, we have
like,
to
he's,
think of
he,
that.
he's,
It's not-
has taken
yeah.
on so much with
Right.
maintenance of the library.
Oh, and I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm simply saying that if we're going to assume that bandwidth, or, understanding everything that's on his plate, then we would want to at least formalize that basically we're taking the lead from him.
Yeah.
Versus not talking about it or having that discussion.
This is more complicated.
So if everybody's in agreement, I think we've agreed that this is kind of like the draft goal plan with the intent of over the next 2 or 3 months, morphing that into the next year's
Yeah.
annual goals.
Alright.
And
That
that,
sounds good.
that will evolve with the strategic planning of the
That
strategic.
sounds good, and then
Okay.
we have to look at to see, it sounds to me like, well, it's March, right? HVAC, when are we gonna come up with a solution to all the heating and the cooling? Is that like about a 3 to 5 months out? We don't
Hard to know yet, but
Because what we're trying to think is, if he's spending almost 53% of his time on that, that's, how's he gonna do everything?
yeah, and I think that's true with all of us who, when you evaluate your workers in the other,
Yeah.
in our own world, you're always taking into consideration,
And adjusting too.
Adjusting
like,
it,
you know,
right.
Like you have.
there's all these unforeseen things that
Okay.
could change the
think-
priorities and everything like that.
Just,
so-
we,
Okay,
I think we should
Okay.
just be clear, or else we're just,
Is it,
okay.
is it
Any final comments on that?
just one comment?
Yeah.
Is it premature then to ask the board to, or through you, to ask about whether this consensus that we would consider a self-eval, and for the director to start getting in the mindset, or starting to prepare comments on each of those essential functions as contained in the job description?
I think that should just be part of our conversation in the next 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
Between the self-eval and the 360s.
Okay.
Include that.
Okay.
That's what I would be in favor of, right?
that's a lot more, yeah.
Yeah.
What I wanted to add was the first section, part 2 is for Tom to create his own high level goals and vision for the library, and so I don't. The way I see this document is just kind of like of what the board is looking for, on a high level, and so then part of that is for Tom to create his own goals and to execute them. So I don't think those need to necessarily be in this document. So I'm not sure. Do we need to meet with Tom in terms of approving this version of the document? Because I feel like we could move forward with this and then meet with Tom and make sure, that the number 2 item there of his kind of his own personal goals and vision for the library are created.
I'm
not
not comfortable
quite-
moving
I'm not
forward with
quite-
this in its form.
Right.
It
No, I'm
needs
not
to be
either.
discussed with Tom and come to an agreement, the collaborative,
Okay.
That's my thought too.
Okay.
Like the whole idea was, I mean, my intention was not like we were gonna vote on this exact list tonight. It
Okay.
was really just to get it out, get the conversation
Right.
going, and then talk to Tom.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also too, if we could just take into consideration, it's almost 9:30.
No, I know, that's why I wanna move on.
Yeah, I have to get up, I have to be,
So, thank you for that conversation. Tom, you've got the two main items. I think was there anything you had for budget and finance update?
So I sent along the director's report. I think everybody's had a chance to review that, or you can. The
And-
budget. Yeah.
Quick question on the director's report, and, oh, sorry, it's later.
We're not there yet. Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Did you want me to go ahead to that?
No,
sorry,
16.
sorry. Oh, actually,
budget
budget,
and
and finance is included in the director's report,
Okay.
so I can skip ahead to that if
Yep, that sounds good.
okay.
And then we can come back if, well, sorry, did you have a policy update, Aaron?
I'm going to make everybody breathe a sigh of relief. We don't have anything on policy because our meeting got disrupted by people on the internet and we couldn't meet. So, plus the town clerk says remote meetings now have to be suspended because that executive
Oh,
order,
right.
remote meetings no longer exist, so we have to meet in person.
Um,
So,
If I could
Actually
just,
waiting for that to be. That's actually being voted on.
okay,
yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you
Yeah.
mentioned that,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
very good.
By the state?
didn't know that.
Or by the
Yeah.
town?
I'm not sure.
No, I think it's on the governor's desk for signature right
Okay,
now.
okay,
Right.
So,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
So great, so then we can pass over the policy update?
and if I could just add that if that passes, it's to June 30th of 27. It's actually going through the fiscal year, 2 years plus so many months.
Okay.
So,
So then we can morph the director's report and the budget and finance update together.
Sure.
So I don't know, he distributed, Tom sent this out, I think this morning. I hope everyone got a chance to read it. I would say just hit the budget pieces first,
Yeah.
and then we can open it up
Yeah.
to just questions.
For the sake of brevity, I will skim through here. There's a bunch of numbers in the beginning about what we've done what we did in 2024, which I think are very valuable to peruse. The staffing, we're going to have a staff development day on April 10th, and everything is being planned for that accordingly, so we're good there. I'm going to jump down to the fiscal year 26 budget. So, as was mentioned earlier, the 2024 annual town report, I submitted the library's report for that, so it'll be in the big book when that's published. As well, I met with I presented at the library budget to the FinCom, as they refer to themselves, Financial Committee Budget Review, on Saturday, March 15th, and put in my request for my budget request for fiscal year 2026, which in effect are a 2% salary increase, which is part of the union contract. So that is kind of standard as what is in there. I also requested 2 additional staff members to have an increase in their scheduled weekly hours, because they were willing to do that, and it would help alleviate us having to rely on temps for increased coverage for shifts. I also asked for an additional 2 positions to be added to be 18-hour-a-week positions. Materials, I requested that the 15% as required by MBLC is in there, as opposed to the 13% which had been last year. So we have the number correct this year. And so that, again, that is given for the MBLC certification and to receive funding. So I'm pretty sure that's going to go through. For resources, I asked for an addition in the programming budget because our programming is really taking off and doing well for us. And the only other thing was the contractual piece that was not in last year's budget for our copying machines, which the board graciously picked up the cost for that because it wasn't in last year's budget. So we'll see if it gets in for this year's budget with the town. So those were the high points on the fiscal year and budget. Any questions or any comments on that?
I have one question regarding the 15%
Yes.
on education materials. Was there also part of that formula that said you had to, it's like almost a 2% year over year?
It is.
So that-
So there are 3 different elements that go into how they determine what your percentage is going to be.
Okay,
One of them is the number of hours that are open.
okay,
The other is the town size, so population,
right,
and then the contribution over a 3-year period, an average of 2% increase from the town. So as long as the town is continuing to finance you, then they're good with that.
okay, all right.
Yep.
So if you find operational efficiencies, when I say operational, I mean materials efficiencies. Let's say, and we talked about this many months ago about coming from your prior, library system. Oh, this vendor might be able to get us a better deal on X materials. And you could actually end up having a lesser budget, but be offering more stuff.
Sure.
But you're
I mean,
being looked upon based on the dollar amount. So are efficiencies in costs, cost efficiencies, are those punished at all?
No,
Okay.
because it's an overall. So I mean, it's 15% of your overall budget.
Okay.
Right. And so even though we distribute that, and so in our minds we're thinking of, well, it's a certain amount's going to go towards children's DVDs, and a certain amount is going to go for nonfiction books, and a certain amount is going to go for ebooks, or and all these different elements. It's really still one large pile.
Right.
Right. And then certainly what we do is to try to find the best, and we're still wise shoppers. We have a certain amount of money that we have to spend,
Right.
and sometimes it can get tricky. Like, don't give me a discount because then we'll be short.
To my
right?
to my point, that's
Right.
exactly the point.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but us finding the best method to purchase something, the best vendor to go with, just means that we're allowed to get more materials to
Right.
offer more to the patrons.
Would we ever find that we have no space for this stuff? In other words, if we do well at that efficiency, and then we're spending the same dollar amount but getting
Yeah.
way more stuff,
Yeah,
is that a problem that gets created?
it is actually. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
And maybe
Frankly.
just one more
Weeding.
comment on
Okay.
this, right? I think for the essence of time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I have no
I thought
more
you had,
comments
I thought
on
you
the
had
red
one.
No,
more.
no,
Yeah,
no,
'cause
no.
I was gonna move along.
No.
We gotta get
Okay.
going.
Did you have another question?
No.
Okay.
It
I
could be sidebar at another time for
Okay.
It's almost 10 o'clock.
Yep.
I had one question and one comment. So for the FinCom meetings, the board is obviously interested in supporting you.
Yep.
So whenever you have the next FinCom meeting, let
Okay.
us know, and one of us or more of us will attend that meeting.
We usually
for
go
it.
to support you.
We-
Oh,
They like that.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Great.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. I appreciate that support.
I think the number of new patrons, what, 840? That's awesome.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
And over half the.
We're at just about half
population.
population having library cards.
That's what I looked at.
Which
That.
is pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah, so and just to dovetail off of that comment,
Yes, I'd like to see.
I didn't understand the numbers because so we're looking at a yearly calculation, right? Is in the director's report, aren't we looking at month to month? And I see numbers.
It
for,
is.
Right,
It is. But
2024.
right, and and I often do provide monthly numbers.
Yeah.
Like I did previous report, last month's report, but
Yeah.
this month because I had just done the annual report
the year.
for
We
the
look at
town,
the full.
the yearly report. I thought it was a
Right, so we haven't seen the yearly numbers yet.
This is the year
right
for
and
2020.
But
right.
we hadn't,
So
this is the
not
first time
you
we're seeing
hadn't
the yearly
seen
numbers.
you hadn't seen these previously, right?
Okay.
And that's calendar year.
Yes, calendar year for 24.
Great, thank you.
Do you plan on sending us the budget when it's completed? Because we see the whole
Yep.
budget.
Yep.
Sure.
And then finally, just wanted to point out the Festival of the Arts. It sounds like that went over really well.
Went over very
a
well.
lot of hard work
Everything
for.
worked out really well, and ultimately it ended out even better than we had anticipated.
Yeah.
And having an historic reading room, I think, worked out great because it opened it up to a lot more people
Yeah,
than
that's great.
would have initially.
Yeah, good to see that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Tom did a lot of work on that, so to keep
Yeah.
making it happen.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was at the library a couple times for multiple reasons, and there was always people browsing those
Always,
pictures.
yeah.
That's great.
Good to hear. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, and we actually kept up longer than we had initially thought too.
Well, it's supposed to be through the 27th, right? That's
Yeah.
what I was told.
Yeah. Initially it was only going to be 2 weeks actually, but then we decided to just let it go
If
for
there are
pretty
any-
much the whole month.
If there are any additional
Oh, okay.
questions on the director's report, reach out to Tom.
I might ask.
Next meetings, Friends, April 8th, 7:30. Policy, if these are still updated, April 2nd. A little bit of an issue on April 23rd. That is the week of
School vacation.
I made a
school
note of
vacation
that.
week.
I'm gonna be away.
So would people prefer, I would prefer the week after, the 30th, but
I
we
would
could
as
consider
well.
the 16th.
I can make the 23rd, but
Yeah, I
I mean, I'll send an email, but just,
made a note of that too. I think that would be hard to have it that week.
okay, so I'll send a follow-up email to, and especially since, we're missing Chris.
30s.
And if you could just let me know what you prefer between the 16th and the 30th? Those both work for you, Tom, do you think, the week before and after?
I'd prefer the 30th.
30th, okay,
Same.
same here
For the
too.
30th, yeah.
Okay, so then I'll propose the 30th and we'll see what Chris says.
I don't think I'll be able to make the 30th, just FYI.
Okay. Okay. I guess with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the meeting ended at 9:40.